So let's start. We'll offer a flower at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. Let's do it in a very meditative state. We can think of Srila Prabhupada's murti in the temple and consider offering a wonderful flower at his lotus feet. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatayine. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padhan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsya. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. सर्वशास्त्रादि पीयूष सर्ववैदिक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाध्य सर्वलोकैक दृक्पद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवतो प्रभु कल्लिदन्तोतिदादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तिता प्रेमानंद पाठाय प्रेम वर्ष अक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेवाय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोस्तुते. मद एक बंधु मद संगीन मद गुरु मन महाधन मन स्तार्क मन भाग्य मन आनंद नमोस्तुते. असाधु साधुता दाइन अति नीचोत ताकर हाना मुंचा कदाचिन्मा प्रेमना हृत कंठयो स्फुरा. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुलं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृतार्थं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दं. Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone. Thank you all so much for joining. Hare Krishna. So let's get started. We're going to continue with our chapter 17. Any realizations anyone would like to share from the first part of chapter 17? Remember any points? I know it's been last year when we discussed the points. But...
I like the point that you made. When Parikshit Maharaj said that even the demigod, I will be able to even defeat the demigods if they're the ones who caused you the pain. And then Krishna backs up the statements of his pure devotees. And then you made the point that the Acharya, they set a process for us to go back to Krishna. And Krishna is so kind that he accepts that as the means, like that verse from Srimad Bhagavatam that the boat to cross the ocean, the Acharya leaves it on the side so that we can also cross it. And Krishna is so kind that he accepts that process as the way that we can come to him. Like Srila Prabhupada setting 16 rounds as a process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very nice point. The words of a pure devotee never go in vain. if a pure devotee has said something, Krishna will make sure that those words are fulfilled. If Krishna says, then sometimes your pure devotee has a different, intention. Then Krishna says, okay, my words are not so important. Words of a pure devotee, extremely important. Whatever he says, right? So, Kaunteya prati janihi na me bhakta prashe. Oh, Arjun, you declare, my devotee will never vanquish. Right? So that's Krishna. Yes.
I think in verse 14, Prabhuji, we were discussing that if you make everyone devotee, then naturally there will be peace around the world.
You can see that's Prabhupada's mood. Jesus gives the ultimate solution. Just make everyone Krishna conscious. All the problems, everything will be solved. Right? And that's the mood of a pure devotee. They're just so compassionate that they want to give the highest gift of Krishna consciousness to every person. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, bro. I missed last time my class. I got break and I had to hear the recording. But the last part that I read was till verse 4, and then you made it a point that the dress and the title does not define leadership. So here Parikshit Maharaj is telling to Kali that you look so kingly.
Yes.
So it's very important. We always get. I personally always get carried away with externals. It's important to figure out the internal, what is going on in the mood to be able to advance in Krishna consciousness, not the dress and the title and the position.
Very nice point. Like if there is an external change, that has to go along with an internal transformation. If someone is given additional power, that actually comes with a great responsibility. Thank you. So should I continue, and then after some time, then remaining can also share, or would one more person like to share?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, go ahead.
I like the importance of cow protection that's repeatedly, doing in most of the chapters. But I really like the point that you made. We got to create a community and protect cows. Even in our region, ourselves. So I really liked and. And one more point, Prabhuji, Krishna creates the situations to go over our, he creates the situations to strengthen our bhakti in our own way. I like that point.
The first point Prabhupada says, like every householder should have cow and bull as their household paraphernalia. So it's just like important that everyone has cow and bull. And so it's nice, Prabhu. We can think of starting a community where we have go protection and everyone is involved in taking care of cows and bulls. And so good. Okay, so let's continue. So up to this point, actually, I was just writing down all the reasons that Parikshit Maharaj has given to Kali. Oh, to actually. Okay, let's say it this way. So up to this point, we have actually read 10 reasons that Parikshit Maharaj has given why he should kill Kali right away. Okay, so I'll just list down. We have already discussed all these. So first point, he actually says, because Kali was causing suffering to the innocent, but the Sanskrit word was abala, right? Abala. So because he was causing suffering to the innocent in a secluded place, he deserves to be killed. Second point is the point that he's dressed as a king, but he's actually doing the activities of a Advija. Advija means one who is actually against the principles of a twice born, right? So Advija. So he's posing as a king, but his activities are that of a Shudra. Third thing is this person is actually has destroyed 3 of the principles of religion, and he's actually working on destroying the 4th one, right? Hence he deserves to be killed. Right? Fifth reason. So fifth reason, Parikshit Maharaj actually says that this person is causing the lamentation of the descendants of Surabhi, right? So that includes both the cow and the bull, the descendants of Surabhi. right? And we discussed the importance of Surabhi. Surabhi is actually the cows in the spiritual world, and the cows here, the bulls here, are representations. So it's actually because this person is causing the lamentation of the descendants of Surabhi, he deserves to be killed. Okay. Sixth point is the king's name, his ayu and good birth. All these things will vanish if he actually does not take the right action of killing Kali. Okay, that's the sixth point. Second point, he actually mentions the point, Krishna Anuvartinam. Krishna Anuvartinam means those who are followers of Krishna. If you say that I'm a follower of Krishna, then cow protection and bull protection is the highest priority, because Krishna is Gopal. Krishna is Gopal. He loves cows and bulls. So if I say Krishna Anuvartinam, obedient to the laws of Krishna, then I have to take an action. I need to kill this Kali. Right? Then point number 8. Right? So those, okay. So if the miscreants are actually killed, then that automatically benefits the innocent and the offenseless people. Right? So by killing a miscreant, then automatically those who are devotees, those who are offenseless, then naturally they'll be protected. Right? And that's Krishna's purpose of appearance, that he wants to kill all the miscreants so that the devotees are protected. Right? Point number 9. Okay. That he actually makes a point that's so important to punish anyone who is actually causing who is a perpetrator, right? And that even up to even that person, if is a denizen from the heavenly planets, he deserves to be killed. Right? So point number 9. And then point number 10, he actually makes a point. It is the paro dharmo. It is a duty of a king to actually protect the law-abiding persons and to chastise those who are actually deviating from the scriptures. So that is 10 points. So up to this point in the chapter, we have read these 10 points, why Parikshit Maharaj has actually given reasons to kill Kali. And it'll be interesting that in this chapter, further as we proceed, there will be 2 important reasons why Parikshit decides, oh, I should not kill. But all these 10 reasons are like extremely valid and powerful reasons. Okay. So that is, we'll come to that point. What are the 2 reasons that Parikshit finally decided, okay, I'm not going to kill. Okay. Then another important section that we have already discussed is why did Dharma not point out who is actually the miscreant? Right. So Kali has actually asked Dharma, oh, who is the one who has actually just mentioned that person, and then I will kill him. But why did Dharma actually point out? Right? And then in that section, we read the verse, Klesha Bija. What is the root cause of suffering? Kali said, Dharma said, I cannot point it out. Why? Because so many different philosophers have different opinions about this. And I'm confused by all these different opinions. Right? And then he mentions different opinions. He says, Atmanam, right? Our own self or a mind is the cause. Then Daiva, demigods are the cause. Or karma, our activity is the cause. Or material nature, Swabhav is the cause, right? And then the Prabhupada elaborates and he says the 6 philosophies, and he says Gautama and Kanada, they actually say, oh, it is all atomic construction, which is actually the atomic combination, which is the cause. And then like persons like Ashtavakra, they were impersonal, they say Brahman is the cause. Right? So all these different points we read. And then finally, we read the verse where what devotees say, devotees actually make the point that actually no one can ascertain, who is the cause of all these. Why? Because everyone is dependent on something else. We discussed this example last time, that if you skid down the road, if the road is icy, then you can say, well, you can give all the reasons of my karma, bad day, planets, my shani, all those explanations. But finally, if there was no rain, there would have been no ice or no rainstorm. So that means the demigod is responsible, right? But all these factors are interdependent. No one factor can be said to be completely independent. So the only factor that can be said to be completely independent, and who is the highest authority, because all these are simply instruments or messengers of one higher authority. And who is that? Krishna. So because only Krishna is the highest authority and he's the one who is totally independent, everyone else is dependent, hence the ultimate cause is actually Krishna. Right? And everyone else, the mood of a devotee is, whether it's the planetary systems, the karma activity, all those are actually only messengers. Just like a postman coming and delivering either a check of $1 million, or the postman coming and delivering a letter of some sad news, right? But the postman is not responsible. So all these are only instruments. Ultimate cause is Krishna. Without the sanction of the Lord, no one can actually inflict trouble on you. Okay. And then the point comes, okay, if Krishna is the ultimate cause, then and he is the highest authority, and then further we read in our Shastra how this person is actually a Surida Sarvadehina. He is actually our best friend and well-wisher. Then the only question that we need to ask when we are faced with troubles is, why is my best friend actually giving me this? Whether that's a gift or a suffering. Why is my best friend actually? My best friend who actually loves me so much. There's no doubt about that. He loves me so much. He's always with me. Why is he giving me this? Right? And then this section, actually 4 points are mentioned why Krishna is actually giving this. And first is, this is our internal mood when we are faced with suffering. One is he's actually teaching me a lesson. Right? He wants to correct me. There is some defect in my character, and Krishna wants me to transform my character, improve me so that I can come back to him. Right? So first one, he's teaching me a lesson. Second one, he's giving a token of what I deserve, right? And he's giving me that token again and again so that I can remember that this is not the place where I belong. Otherwise, it's so easy to get complacent in our spiritual life, complacent in our day-to-day life. Right? So Krishna gives us tokens, and then when we have a problem, we immediately, I have to become serious. Right? So Krishna that way. So second, he gives us some token to remind us that this is not the right place to be. Let's be determined. Let's go back to God. Third one, he actually does it to intensify our remembrance, our prayer, our connection to him. Right? When we have a problem, then we really take our beats and say, Krishna, you're the holy name. I really want to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We intensify. And the fourth one, in this case, right, Prabhupada, what we read in this section, Dharma is actually making the point that this entire thing has happened so that a devotee like Maharaj Parikshit is actually glorified. So I remember once I asked this question that Prabhupada is a pure devotee. He's the one who was actually selected by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to fulfill the words that Pritiviti Ache Nagar Adi Gram Sarvatra Prachar Hoive Mora Naam. Right? He's the one. But why did he have to go through so many difficulties, so many troubles? Started something in Jhansi and then that failed, and again, and even his business, like everything failed. Like again and again we see. Right? So one way we see, and the answer Guru Maharaj is giving, he said, when a pure devotee actually goes through all these suffering, right, then he is actually like, because Prabhupada went through so much, there's so much appreciation of Prabhupada. See what Prabhupada has done. So much more we appreciate a pure devotee. So here Dharma is actually making the point that my actually not pointing out will glorify Maharaj Parikshit, because how he will react to it will actually show how glorious of a king is Maharaj Parikshit. And then after Dharma gives his point, then what does Parikshit Maharaj say? He actually, we'll start off from that verse, I think. 23. I think we discussed 22. Yeah, I think we discussed 22. So in 22, Maharaj Parikshit starts speaking and he says, "O you who are in the form of bull, you know the truth of religion. Dharmam bravishi dharmagya." Right? You are speaking according to a principle that the destination intended for the perpetrator of irreligious act is also intended for one who identifies. Anyway, so first part of the verse is Dharma Bravishi Dharmagya, right? So he actually makes a point that what you are speaking makes the point that you yourself are Dharma personified, right? So for Maharaj Parikshit to appreciate Dharma's answer itself shows that how Maharaj Parikshit actually knows the principles of Dharma. Otherwise, someone would have said like, why are you lying? He's right here, he's beating you. Point him out. Why are you lying? But Maharaj Parikshit will actually appreciate how deep of an answer that Dharma gave. And that actually glorifies Maharaj Parikshit himself as the knower of Dharma. Otherwise, no one else would have glorified that point. Okay, so 23, we'll continue. Okay, so this other part of this verse is also, we discussed this point. Okay, let me see. Let's see where we stop. Okay, so in 22, the other part of the verse is actually saying the one who identifies the perpetrator, he is also involved with the whole one. The destination intended for the perpetrator of irreligious acts is also intended for one who identifies the perpetrator, right? So that was the point that we also discussed. Basically making the point that Parikshit Maharaj is saying that if you would have pointed out who is the miscreant here, then you yourself would actually be involved with the whole act of karma. And how does this actually make sense? Because if we don't understand that finally Krishna is the cause of everything, that means our understanding is still not transcendental. Our understanding is still based on the laws of material nature, right? And hence we are actually implicated in the laws of material nature. Yes? So it's like tit for tat formula. But only when we accept that Krishna is the ultimate cause of everything, then our understanding is transcendental, and then we are free from all these implications. Okay. So now we'll start with text 23. Okay. So let's go ahead. So we have the any questions or comments up to this point? Is okay up to this point in chapter? Yes? Okay. So let's start 23. So who's first one on the list?
Hare Krishna Guruji.
Yes.
Atavadeva, it is 1723, right? Chapter
Yes.
7.
Yes.
Atavadeva Mayaya Nonam Gatir Agochara Chetaso Vachasas Chapi Bhutanam Iti Nischayaha. Translation. Thus, it is concluded that the Lord's energies are inconceivable. No one can estimate them by mental speculation or by word jugglery.
So this verse starts off with Athava, right? Therefore, it is concluded that Lord's energies are actually inconceivable. And no one can estimate this, right? Inconceivable, agochara, chetasa and vachasa, either by mental speculation or by word jugglery, right? So this point we actually mentioned last time also that, even Bhishma Dev actually makes this point, right? Na asya kariche rajan, puman edasa vitam. That no one can actually understand the actions of the Supreme Personality. When is he actually giving us happiness? When is this stress coming? How he's actually arranging things? No one can actually understand this. No one can estimate them by mental speculation or by word jugglery. Now, Prabhupada in the purport, okay, so to this point actually means that, we have to accept the inconceivable nature of Krishna. Krishna, like one of the names of Krishna is Achintya. We say Achintya, right? Achintya means he's inconceivable. So if we say, okay, Krishna has done this, why he's done this, and we try to understand this either through a mental speculation or through word jugglery, then that means that we are claiming that, oh, we are greater than Krishna because we can actually understand everything. At one point, we just have to say, Krishna, you're inconceivable. And hence, I just surrender unto you. I take shelter. Right? Okay. So Prabhupada actually in the purport raises this question that why a devotee should actually refrain from identifying an actor. Like, okay, so we came to the point that a devotee comes to the conclusion that who is the ultimate responsible for everything? The Lord. Right? Nothing happens without sanction of the Lord. Then why not, when anything happens, why don't blame the Lord? Why don't you blame the Lord? Krishna, it is your fault. I am getting suffering, Krishna, your fault. Why don't we do that? Right? Even if you understand that Krishna is the cause of all causes. So Prabhupada answers that. Right? And he actually makes a point. First of all, he says that because the Lord also is not directly responsible. Why? Because it's actually his energies. It is that the energies of the Lord, Deva Mayaya, the energies of the Lord is actually doing everything. So even the Lord is actually not directly responsible. Hence, you cannot blame the Lord for the suffering that we are going through. So one way we say the Lord is the ultimate cause of everything, but yet we cannot actually blame the Lord. Right? So that's the first point. And then the other point that Prabhupada actually makes in the purport is that even Dharma, why did Dharma not identify the perpetual? Right? So he actually makes a point that for devotees, though we may understand that Krishna is the ultimate cause of all causes, but if there is someone who is actually causing, this discussion came up last time, is causing an act of irreligion, then isn't it our duty to identify that person? If someone is causing irreligion, someone is the cause of let's say creating conflicts between devotees practically in our community or something like that, then shouldn't we actually take an action? Shouldn't we point out these things? Right? As if he's particularly doing something towards irreligion. Prabhupada actually makes a point here that dharma as such, yes, it is our duty, and dharma as such, he should have pointed out Kali. Why? Because Kali was, though we understand Krishna is the ultimate cause, he should have pointed out Kali because Kali was the cause of promoting irreligion. Right? And because dharma is a religion, right? Religion personified, and that's what needs to be spread all around. He should have pointed out Kali. But he did not do it. Why? Prabhupada gives a very interesting explanation. He actually says, because Dharma himself, three of his legs were actually cut off. So he himself was deluded by the Krishna's Maya Shakti. Dharma himself was deluded by Krishna's Maya Shakti, and hence he did not actually point out the miscreant here. So interesting, right? So imagine if Dharma personified can be influenced by Maya, what to talk of with us? What to talk of us, right? So Prabhupada makes that point very nicely. Right? And also this point, about no one can estimate them by mental speculation or the word jugglery. Practically in our life, when we actually see, different actions, Krishna has put me in this situation, which, is something which is not favorable, causing distress, then, we cannot understand it by, maybe it is this, or maybe it is that, mental speculation, or you use so many theories, we cannot understand. The only way we can actually understand is by offering prayers. Krishna, you have put me in this situation. If you can kindly reveal that what you want me to learn from the situation, that is the only way Krishna will actually reveal. Only through that prayers which are filled with devotion, which Krishna actually reveals himself to us. Okay? Okay. So the point is clear that why the Lord is not there. Why not blame the Lord? Right? And people actually do this, right? I'm just talking of people who are maybe a little bit pious. Something wrong happens and say, "Oh God, why are you doing this to me?" And in one way, we are blaming the Lord, saying that, "Oh Lord, you do not know what is best for me." Right? And that's why we are saying that, "Oh, why are you doing this to me?" Right? So, okay. So next verse, we'll go to 10.
Krishna, text 24. Tapashocham daya satyam iti pada krite krita adharm anshayos trayo bhanga samasanga madestava. In the age of Satya, truthfulness, your 4 legs were established by the 4 principles of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. But it appears that 3 of your legs are broken due to rampant irreligion in the form of pride, lust for women, and intoxication.
So, so Maharaj Parikshit is now speaking to Kali, and he's actually making the point. He says, Tapa, Socham, Daya, Sat. What are these 4? Tapa, austerity; Socham, cleanliness; Daya, mercy; Satyam, truthfulness. These 4 are the 4 legs of religion. Right? And actually, Iti Pada Krite. What is Krite? Krite is referring to Satya. Like the famous verse, Krite Yad Dhyayato Vishnu. Right? Which actually says, in Satya Yuga, what was the main process? Was meditation. So Krite, right? So the word Krite. So same here. Iti Pada Krite Krataha. So in the age of Satya Yuga, Tapa, Socham, Daya, and Satyam. All 4 were actually prominent in the age of Kali. And Dharma was standing on these 4 legs. But now, these 4 legs, 3 of the legs are completely destroyed, and the 4th one is also almost gone. But it appears 3 of your legs are broken due to what is the reason? So this is very nice point, very practical point, right? Tapaha is actually destroyed by what? Pride. Austerity is actually destroyed by pride. We'll explain each one of this, we'll discuss it. Saucham, or cleanliness, is actually destroyed by illicit connection with a woman, lust for women. Daya, right? Daya is actually mercy, is actually destroyed by intoxication. And Satyam is destroyed by falsehood or untruthful words. Right? So these 4, right? So tapaha, austerity, is actually destroyed by pride. So, okay, we'll discuss this and we'll come back to Prabhupada's purport. So how is austerity destroyed by pride? Right? So we can consider on the gross level and then practically for us devotees. Right? So on the gross level, austerity is destroyed by pride, because as soon as we have pride, we think that, oh, I am the enjoyer. Right? I am the enjoyer, I am the controller. And because in the material world, the highest pleasure is that association with the opposite sex. Right? So we try to enjoy or control or gain association with the opposite sex. So with that, pride actually leads other aspects of intoxication, association of women, and so on. Right? So that's on the gross level. But on the subtle level, for devotees, how is austerity destroyed by pride? Because as soon as we get pride, what do we think? Oh, I am a great devotee. I am doing bhakti for 10 years. I am second initiated. I am Bhakti Vaibhav student. So all these things, we actually say that I am so and so. Hence, I do not need to do so and so austerity. Hence, I do not need to get up early in the morning. I am such a great person. I am so elevated in my spiritual life. Hence, I can, not follow the basic principle. Hence, I don't need to do austerity. So the pride in our life, actually destroys austerity. And even Ekadashi, you may say like, no, I am already so austere. Why do I need to observe Ekadashi? So the mind actually tricks us, to actually give ourselves some recognition, even in terms of our devotional life. And because of that, the pride, the austerity is actually destroyed. So the solution here is, as we actually become humble, the more humble we are, what does the mood of humility call for? The mood of humility calls for begging and praying. Oh, I am so fallen. Krishna, please help me. Oh, Vaishnavas, please help me. The mood of humility calls. We are like in that state that we have no other shelter. Oh, Vaishnavas, please help. Right? And we see all these bhajans. Bhajans where Bhaktivinoda Thakur expresses this mood. He's praying and begging for mercy. Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya Koro Edase. Please shower your mercy upon me, right? Because I have no one. So when we are in that mood of begging for mercy, then naturally we'll be inspired to perform more and more austerity. But as soon as there is a pride, then we think, oh, everything is perfect. I do not need to do more austerity. I do not need to do so and so, right? So that's the first point. Okay. Second point is daya. Daya, mercy, is destroyed by intoxication. Right? How is mercy destroyed by intoxication? Again, it's kind of similar point, because as soon as on the gross level, again, when we are intoxicated, then again we think that, oh, I am the enjoyer, I am the controller. Ishwaroham aham bhogi, right? That's my position. Hence, why do I need to care for all the other people? Why show mercy to other people? I myself am so great. So that is a gross level. But subtle level, how do we cultivate that mood of daya, right? So when we actually, so opposite to intoxication, aham mameti concept, we actually understand that I am Jivera Swarupa Krishnera Nityadar. And because I am a servant of Krishna, my only role is to become an instrument in Krishna's hand. And now for us, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has clearly given us how we can actually become an instrument in his hands, by actually giving Krishna to others. So when we go out, we distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, or we go out on Harinam Sankirtan, then we are actually distributing that mercy to everyone. But otherwise, mercy is actually destroyed by intoxication. Third, cleanliness. So cleanliness is, here it says destroyed by illicit connection with a woman. Right? So that is obvious. Practically, how we develop the mood of cleanliness. Like whenever Prabhupada talks of cleanliness, he actually talks about bhaya abhyantara. Right? In that famous sloka also we say, Om apavitra pavitrova sarvavastam gatava yasmare pundarikaksham sa bhaya abhyantara. So bhaya means external, abhyantara means internal. So whenever Prabhupada talks of cleanliness, he mentions both. External cleanliness, Prabhupada gives practical points, like in Bhagavad Gita in 13th chapter, text 8 through 12, one of the qualities that Krishna mentions is cleanliness. So Prabhupada talks, cleanliness means externally, taking bath every day, etc., etc. And all our external cleanness. And then internally, Prabhupada says, how do we actually maintain our internally? And you see Prabhupada, his mood is Chetodarpanamatra. You chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, that you actually internally, you are pure. You think about Krishna. And Prabhupada mentions cleanliness is next to godliness. The fourth principle, truthfulness. Truthfulness is actually destroyed by falsehood, speaking lies. So truthfulness actually comes under any circumstance, like how Prabhupada says, truthfulness means that even to an enemy, you can reveal even if an enemy comes, you're willing to say the truth to that person. Right? So that is truthfulness. So under any circumstance, even to an enemy, we will actually speak the truth. And then also, truthfulness means to speak from Shastra. Right? So Prabhupada says, when we say anything, we should have a shloka to back up what we are saying. So that is truthfulness. So in this section, austerity, we can also read the Bhagavad Gita 17th chapter. It talks of austerity of the body, where it says Deva, Dvija, Guru, Pragya. What does austerity of the body means? That we should worship Deva, Supreme Lord, Dvija, Brahmanas, Guru, we should worship a spiritual master, and Pragya, we should worship the superiors. And then also it says Pujanam, Saucham, Arjavam, Brahmacharyam, and we should actually cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, right? Brahmacharya, right? And then ahimsa, non-violence. So these are all aspects of austerity of the body. Then austerity of the speech, Prabhupada says, speaking truthful words, so pleasing words, right? Anuvega karam vakyam, satyam priya hitam chayat, right? Words that are beneficial, which are not agitating to others, right? And then it says swadhyaya. Swadhyaya means regularly reciting the scriptures. So these are austerities of the speech, right? And then Bhagavad Gita 17th chapter, text 16, austerity of the mind is what? Satisfaction, Manaha prasada somyatvam, maunam atma vinigraha means satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, purification of one's existence. Those are all austerities of the mind. Okay, so that is these 4 points. We often mention these 4 points as aspects of religion. So we need to understand how, on the gross level, how these 4 principles are broken. Right? And on the subtle level, practically for devotees, how is this? So Prabhupada actually in the purport, he mentions this point. He actually says in Bhagavad Gita how Krishna says, Devi Esha Gunamai Mama Maya Duratya. Right? The Maya is Duratya, but very difficult to overcome. But what is a positive hope that Mam eva ye prapadante, the one who surrenders unto Krishna, then it becomes easy. But Prabhupada makes a point. Is surrender easy? Is surrender easy? Yes? No? No. Prabhupada says surrender is actually not easy. It's actually, unless a person is actually practicing these 4 things, austerity, truthfulness, mercy, cleanliness, unless he's practicing these 4, how can he really surrender to Krishna? So Prabhupada says that surrender, which is actually Krishna is talking about, it is difficult, but it can be practiced by actually following these 4 aspects of austerity. So even for devotees, Prabhupada is pointing out how it is important to remember these 4 things and actually practice these 4 aspects. And in this purpose, like repeatedly, Prabhupada is actually making the point. We need to actually surrender. We have to cure the disease of the mind. The mind is actually addicted to these things: pride, intoxication, attraction to the opposite sex, and untruthful things. Right? The mind is naturally attracted. It is a disease condition. But what is the proper medicine? Prabhupada says, Oshadi. What is the proper medicine for the mind? Can you?
Chanting.
Okay, and?
Absorption in
Association.
Krishna.
Okay. So in these purpose, Prabhupada repeatedly, he actually makes the point, there is one Oshadi. Oshadi means medicine for the conditioned mind. And in that famous verse in 10th canto, 10.1.4, it actually says, Nivrittatashay upagiya manad bhavoshad bhava oshajad chotra manobhiramat ka uttama shloka gunanuvadat puman viratet vinapashugnas. It actually says in that verse that the real Aushadhi for bhava, for this material existence, is what? Uttama shloka gunanuvada. Right? That is basically the Srimad Bhagavatam is actually the real medicine for the conditioned state of the mind. So the more we are diving into the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam, the more we are actually absorbing ourselves and understanding the finer details of the relationship or the exchanges between a devotee and Krishna and Krishna's devotee. Like when Kunti Maharani composed all these beautiful prayers, what is her heart that she has actually, made these prayers thinking about these points, right? And then what does Krishna actually do after that? How does he reciprocate? Who remembers after Kunti Maharani's prayers?
Smile.
Yes.
He mildly smiles. It says mildly smiles, right? And it says that smile is as captivating as Krishna's yogic power. Krishna is Yogeshwara, right? And that smile is as captivating as Krishna's yogic power. So understanding these intricacies of the relationship or these exchanges, that is the solution for curing the disease of the mind. Okay, it is a 10.1.4. Right? So 10 canto actually starts off with Parikshit Maharaj actually glorifying this hearing about the activities of the Supreme Personality of God. And then Prabhupada glorifies, Srimad Bhagavatam. He says, preaching of Srimad Bhagavatam principles will automatically render all men austere, clean, merciful, and truthful. So the ultimate solution, distribute Srimad Bhagavatam. teach everyone Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada again and again, his purpose is actually making a point. Says preaching the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam will automatically make people follow these 4 things, and in that way, religion will actually be established. And we know it. Krishna so dhamma pragati dhamma jnana disa kalo nashta drishamesha punanarko vinodita. In Kali, this Purana has arisen to actually establish dharma. How? By actually spreading principles of Bhagavatam. Then these 4, austerity, truthfulness, people will start following, and by that, actually be. And Prabhupada gives what is the solution to actually defeat this age of Kali. And this is interesting. Prabhupada says all the leaders and the rich men of the society must give 50% of their accumulated wealth to educate people in the principles of Srimad. And that is a solution to defeat the age of Kali. Everyone, 50% of your income you give for educating people. So it's very interesting to see like how Prabhupada repeatedly makes this point of 50%. Devotees have given different explanations of that. Whether 50% is really practical, can devotees do it? Well, we should contemplate on this point. 50% of my income, like that's considerable amount. But why Prabhupada again and again is actually asking 50% of our income we are giving for the propagation of Krishna consciousness. So anyway, so everyone can think about this point. So okay, so that is 24. Right? So now we move on to 25. Who's next?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Idanam dharma padaste satyam nirvartayat yataha tam jigarasti adharmoyam anarthena yadataha kalihi. Translation. You are now standing on one leg only, which is your truthfulness, and you are somehow or other hobbling along, but quarrel personified Kali, flourishing by deceit, is also trying to destroy that leg. Hare Krishna.
So Idanim, so Parikshit Maharaj is saying Idanim at this present moment. What is he's saying? O Dharma, personality of religion. Satyam, truthfulness, never tayet. Never tayet means you're hobbling on that one leg of truthfulness. All the remaining 3 legs. So you can imagine, consider like a 4-legged animal who's just like 3 legs are broken and 1 leg is also weak, just hobbling on that leg. And that is the leg of truthfulness. Right? And then it says, and that also, this Kali, who is actually anritena by deceit, who is actually flourishing by deceit, he is actually trying to destroy even that one leg, which Dharma is hobbling. So, so it is said that in Kali Yuga, there is some truthfulness which is actually left. So one question, like, I used to often think that, where is truthfulness in Kali Yuga? Everywhere there's like false propaganda. You read the news, you don't know you're reading like true news or false news. Where is truth in Kali Yuga? So what is, anyone would like to unmute and say any points? Where is truthfulness in Kali Yuga?
Shastra, Prabhuji.
Yes, actually the only truthfulness is that we still have Bhagavad Gita as it is. We have Srimad Bhagavatam as it is. Right? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, to this verse, is actually making the point that the scriptures are actually existing in the original. The absolute truth is still accessible in this age. That is a sign that there is some truthfulness. Because otherwise in the whole world, it's only like how Prabhupada said, the entire society is based on cheaters and cheated. Either you're cheating someone or you're getting cheated. That's it.
Prabhuji, I feel that the society is always run by people who are following truthfulness. So the people who are reading Shastras and the scriptures and distributing this knowledge and teaching this knowledge. That's why this Kali Yuga is still sustaining.
So, sorry, say it again, Mata. You said the society is
So,
running.
Babuji, my point is that we always say that how there is so much cheating, right? There is no truthfulness left in there. But still, if for example, if a government is still running, it is or if we say in India the government system is totally broken, there is bribe everywhere and this. But I feel that the system runs because of the few good people who are still left. The few good people who are still reading the scriptures or Shastras and teaching that knowledge. That's why the society is still running.
Because there are some few devotees on the planet, Krishna actually makes things happen in such a way that there is some coordination there. Okay, nice point. Okay, so let's go ahead. And also, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, to this verse, he actually makes a point that truthfulness is actually mentioned because compared to the other three factors, this is a little bit more prominent than the other. The other three are almost gone. A little bit truthfulness is a little bit more prominent, and hence truthfulness is actually. So these 2 points are mentioned. Text 26.
Iyam cha bhumir bhagavata yastiro bharasathi sathi srimadbhistatpada nyashahi sarvata krita kautuka. Translation: the burden of the earth was certainly diminished by the personality of Godhead and by others as well. When he was present as an incarnation, all good was performed because of his auspicious footprints.
So if you see that Nyasi Toro Bhara, so there are 2 ways of understanding this. One is Chakravarti Pad is making the point that she, the earth, referring to earth, who had her heavier burden created by demons and other people, that was removed by the Lord. In Prabhupada, he actually gives slightly different explanation in the sense that the burden of the earth was diminished by Krishna and the others. So Chakravarti Pad is saying that the burden of the earth, which was created by the others, was actually eliminated by Krishna. And Prabhupada is actually making the point that the burden of the earth was removed by Krishna and the others, referring to the devotees. So both ways we can actually see this. And then when he was present in incarnation, all good was performed because of his auspicious footprint. So who remembers, we read one purport before where Prabhupada actually talks about this, and he says that yes, to actually have that prosperity, we should always have Krishna's footprints on the surface of the earth. Right? And then he actually, Prabhupada makes the point that, well, one way we have to retain Krishna, that basically means we have to retain Krishna always on the surface of the earth. And he actually makes the point, and I'll just say it, I'm going to ask as a question, but I'll just say it. And then he makes a point that it's not that we don't have to as such wait till Krishna again takes incarnation, because we can actually invite Krishna through our Harikatha, through our chanting, through our association. In that way, Krishna will always be here, and hence his footprints will always be there to bless the earth. So, but as Krishna's footprints are there, they create that auspiciousness. So all good was performed because of this auspicious footprints of Krishna. Okay, text 27.
Sochatre asru kala sadvi durbhagevo jita sati abhramanya nripa vyaha sudrabhokshanti mam iti. Now she, the chaste one, being unfortunately forsaken by the personality of Godhead, laments her future with tears in her eyes. For now she is being ruled and enjoyed by lower class men who pose as rulers.
So it says abhramanyaha, means devoid of Brahmanical, not Brahmana, devoid of Brahmanical culture. Nripa Vyajaha, posed as a ruler. So if you remember in the starting of chapter, when Prabhupada mentioned, what are the symptoms of Kali Yuga? The first symptom he actually mentioned is Sudra class people are actually taken up positions of administrators. Right? So again, the same point. And then Sochati, Ashru Kala. Sochati means lamenting. Ashru Kala means tears in the eyes. Sadhvi. Sadhvi means chaste one, right? So now she, the Mother Earth, chaste one, right? Now it is Durbhaga. It becomes most unfortunate because that personality of Godhead is actually now left, and then now these lower Shudra-like personalities are actually trying to exploit Mother Earth. Right? And even now, if you see how much exploitation of Mother Earth is actually going on. Right? So let's see. Yeah, so one point actually here is it's actually explained that when someone has a lot of money, then we say, okay, he's rich, he's considered. But when that money is taken away, then that person laments even more than a person who never had the money. Right? So you see a point? If a person is still struggling, it's unfortunate. But the person already had the money, had a lot of money, but that is taken away, then he laments so much more. So similarly here, the point is made, because Krishna was on the planet Earth, Krishna was so auspicious, so blissful, and we discussed this in the previous chapter, how Mother Earth was actually, considering her good fortune, that, even the queens of Dwarka, they were lamenting, they had to experience that separation, but Mother Earth was always in association with Krishna, right? And now, when Krishna left, she's actually lamenting. Lamentation is very deep, very what's the right word? Like very sorrowful, and that's why the example is given. Just like how a mother who has lost her calf, that is very severe. Okay. And Prabhupada in the purport, he actually says, how Kshatriyas, they are actually now untrained. They are basically like lower class, Shudra class people. And instead of giving, because they have no training, instead of giving protection, which is a duty of a Kshatriya, Shat means to protect. Right? Instead of giving that protection to the public, they create such intolerable situations where all the public is actually harassed. So that is actually our current government is like that. What to do with it. This creates such situations where everyone is actually faced to intolerable situations. And then what are the public and the administrators interested? To gratify themselves at the cost of all the comfort. Right? All they're interested in, I should have good home, good bangla, good house, everything. So that's their main. I should just be like. So now, if you see, like it is true. Even the current system, we see like if anyone who is actually good at talking, if you are just charismatic speaker, that's it. You'll get votes, hook or crook. No checking what is your qualification, what is your character, nothing. If you can just say words and impress people, even if like it's mostly like false promises. If you're expert at saying that, then people will give you word, and that's it. You'll become that. No one even cares what is the character of this person. Nothing. No qualification. So that is the situation. And again, in this purport, Prabhupada actually gives what is the solution? And last sentence I'll read. In the absence of a suitable king to curb irreligious tendencies, educating the people systematically in the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam will clear up this hazy atmosphere. Again and again in his purports, Prabhupada is repeatedly making the point. Educate people systematically in Srimad Bhagavatam. Everyone must to have Bhakti Vaibhav degree. Everyone should have it. That's the move. Okay, so next 28. Let's proceed.
Iti dharmam chaiva santva yitva maharataha nishatam adade khadgam kalaye dharma hetave. Maharaj Parikshit, who could fight 1,000 enemies single-handedly, thus pacified the personality of religion and the earth. Then he took up his sharp sword to kill the personality of Kali, who is the cause of all irreligion.
So interesting that this verse is, up to this point, Kali gave so many reasons. Parikshit gave so many reasons to kill Kali. Then what did Dharma say? Well, actually, we cannot point out who is the miscreant here, right? And then Parikshit Maharaj appreciated. He said, oh yeah, what you spoke is actually real dharma. Because we cannot say who is the real cause. And then what is Parikshit now saying? Taking up his sword and to kill that person. You see the mood here? So one is, all the points that we read is that the internal mood that the devotee has, that, oh, what I'm getting now is Krishna is actually giving me a token. Like all the points that we mentioned before. When we are faced with troubling, suffering, right? How do we see that? We see that as a token from Krishna. We see that as Krishna's mercy, all those points that we mentioned. But externally, whatever is needed to be done, we need to do that. Right? So Parikshit Maharaj is taking sword to kill Kali. Right? So up to this point, one may read Bhagavatam and say, okay, now Kali, because Dharma has not pointed out the miscreant, so Kali should, Parikshit should just continue walking. Right? He was anyway traveling all over. He should just continue because there's no miscreant here, no perpetrator here. Right? But Kali immediately took the sword. So externally, very practical point. This came up last time also. Externally, we may need to do the needful. Particularly if there is something which is against the principles of Dharma. Particularly if there's something against the principles of Dharma, externally we may need to take all the action possible. But because we have cultivated that internal mood, even when externally we are acting, internally what we are thinking? Internally we are thinking, well, we are not doing this out of some personal vengeance. Yes, someone has caused suffering and so on, but we know Krishna is the ultimate cause. Okay, what is the action I need to do so that Dharma is protected, or religion or my spiritual life is protected? We do that needful, but we are not doing it so much out of personal attachment or vengeance. It is more in a detachment because we have developed that internal mood. Second point is we do it out of duty. I am in so-and-so position. Parikshita was in the position of an emperor. It was his duty to actually take anything that was against irreligion. So out of his duty is working. And third point is, when you are working in that detached internal mood, then you can do it in the mood of benefit or service to others. So practically in a situation also, you can consider some situation, like when you're doing the action, if you have cultivated the internal mood, then when you act, do some practical action, you'll say, okay, I'm doing this because this is for the benefit of that person, this benefit of the Krishna conscious movement, it is for the benefit of the society. So immediately that personal focus goes away, and then we are still doing that external thing, but we are doing it out of the mood of benefit and the mood of detachment. Right? So this is an important dynamics of the internal mood and external action, what is required, and how we are doing the external, keeping the internal mood in focus. Okay, this is this important point, that in spite of all this, Kali is actually ready to take his sword and kill. Right? So, and then here is used the word Maharatha. Maharatha means one who can actually alone fight 1,000 Maharatha. So there's Atiratha, Maharatha, there are different titles, based on how qualified the Kshatriya is. Right? Ratha, Maharatha, Atiratha, and so on. So Maharatha means one who can alone, one person can kill 1,000 enemies. So that's how Parikshit Maharaj said, the one who could kill 1,000 enemies single-handedly, he actually pacified Dharma and Mahim. Right? So Dharma, the bull, and Mahim, the earth. Right? And after he pacified both of them, then he actually took up his sword, ready to kill Kali. Okay, so the last point about external and internal. Yeah. Okay. So, so my point here is that internal we have to cultivate the mood, right? That we discussed earlier. When we get some suffering, what do we think? Krishna, I deserve so much more. You are just giving me a token. Right? And the suffering may be caused due to some factors, external factors. Someone did something, or last time there was some mention about like, oh, what if you are abused or things like that. Right? So there is some immediate cause. Right? There is some immediate cause, but the ultimate cause we know Krishna. So internal we may, it is just my own suffering. Krishna is trying to teach me a lesson. Okay, what can I learn? But if there is certain thing like someone is abusing you or something is actually, like if some devotee is doing something wrong to you, then there may be a need to talk to a higher authority, take that external action, because otherwise that person may do the same thing to another innocent devotee, right? But now when we are doing that external, we are talking to that senior and saying that, oh, this is what has happened. I need to inform you because this is his character or her character. We are doing that external, but internally what we are thinking, we are not now saying that, oh, because he did this, hence I'm doing that. I am doing this because it is for the benefit of that person and the benefit of Krishna consciousness. So immediately the mood goes away from the me focus to what is beneficial for everyone, right? And we become more detached because Krishna has given me this. So, whatever happens, I'm not attached to it, but I have to do my part. So we become more detached. We do it more in the mood of benefit. And then one may also say the third point is duty. So sometimes it may be our duty to just speak up to the right person. If we are not speaking up, that also may not be right, because the same thing can happen to others, especially when we talk of child abuse and so on. We need to speak up as out of duty also. It's okay. Okay, so let's see what else Prabhupada actually in the purport. He again, like in these purports, if if you're giving Bhagavatam to someone who's in government position, ask them to read this chapter, because in this chapter purport, Prabhupada is really talking about administrators, how they should read. And here he's actually making the point that the administrator should be strong enough. If someone is doing irreligion, take up their sword, death punishment. Prabhupada is so strong. He's like, he talks of capital punishment. There in our Shastras also. So they should be ready with sharp swords to kill the person creating corruptions from angle of vision of the recognized Shastra. That in the Shastras. And they must at once close all shops of intoxicating drugs and wine and force punishment, even by death, those who actually indulge in intoxication. Imagine such a person. Now we cannot, even if a person who is pious, who is actually, voted, and he becomes a president, he's bound by so many, like, okay, the House and the Senate has to pass this law, then we can do it. There is no, room for he just taking a strong action and saying, no, close all the places where cows are slaughtered, close them right away. He doesn't have the power to do it. That's why, like Prabhupada talks of, what does he say democracy is? Demon crazy. Demon crazy. That's it. Because there's no power. The king has no power in the democracy. What is, what can the king do? So even if someone is good, still he cannot do anything. So Prabhupada is saying that's the problem. But the one who's a king, he should have the power. He's ready to take up a sword and do that. Okay. And then, like sometimes, like recently, I was in a group of people and they were saying, like, Hindu, so-called Hindu group, and they're saying, no, our principle, like, the whole group was meeting because, in North America, there has been some attacks on Hindu temples and so on. And they're saying, one person was like, no, our Parodharma is Ahimsa. We cannot do anything. We cannot take any action. I was like, Ahimsa, that is Mahatma Gandhi was making the point that Ahimsa Parodharma. Our principle is not that. If someone attacks, where are the Kshatriyas? Get them trained, ask them to do the right thing. Where Himsa is required, we do that. Right? Not just Ahimsa. If someone hits our left cheek, then we show our right. That's not our principle. Our principle is wherever there's need for Himsa, ask the right person to take the right action. Or train the person to take the right action. Okay, next 29. Who's next?
Tam जिघासुम् अभिप्रेत्य विहाय नेपालाञ्छनं तत्पादमूलजनं शिरसा समगादभयविहलः. When the personality of Kali understood that the king was willing to kill him, he at once abandoned the dress of the king and under pressure of fear completely surrendered to him, bowing his head.
So he said, Bhaya Vivala. When Kali saw that Maharaj Parikshit has taken a sword to kill him, Bhaya Vivala, out of fear, you know. So he knew, Kali knew that he has no stand. He cannot take his sword and fight Maharaj Parikshit. He's such a powerful king. There is no chance for Kali to survive in front of such a powerful king, right? So he became fearful, and in that fear, what did he do? Shirasa Samagat. By his head, Shirasa means head, and his head he actually surrendered unto Parikshit Maharaj. So when personality of Kali understood that the king was actually willing to kill him, he at once gave up his dress, right? So it says Nripa Lanchanam, right? So the dress of a king, he immediately gave up his dress and then he actually surrendered unto Parikshit. So Prabhupada actually makes a point in the purport that if he was a real Kshatriya, he would have not surrendered under any circumstance. So that he surrendered is a sign that he is actually not a Kshatriya but a Shudra. Otherwise, the Kshatriya, even if he's weak, if there's someone who's challenging, he say, okay, you challenge me, I'll take my sword. I know I'm going to die, you're extremely strong, but still I'll fight. I'm a Kshatriya, I cannot give up. Even we read stories in the Ramayana, also Mahabharata, that if the person, is like, has fainted due to certain things, and the chariot driver takes him away, then the person gets up, is like, why did you take me away? Even if I was killed, it was better I stayed on the battlefield than you taking me away, right? So we see that that's the mood of a Kshatriya. Whatever happens, I'm ready to fight, right? To fight with me. So this actually proves that Kali was just a fake Kshatriya. He wasn't really a true Kshatriya. He was fake, and he surrendered. So Prabhupada also makes this point, that the real Kshatriya never surrenders. And practically for us, we can see that when there are testing circumstances or situations in our life, that's when our true nature comes out. When we are subjected to difficult situations, then it is almost like a mirror in front of our consciousness. Because what we are thinking in those difficult situations actually shows, oh, this is how much I'm attached. This is how much envy I have in my heart. So we see that in a testing situation, oh, his fake Kshatriya dress, he had to just give away. Right? So we may think that, oh, I am such a good devotee, I am so pure, I'm chanting my rounds, I'm doing this. But as soon as there's a testing situation, what are we thinking? Are we still acting like a devotee? So testing situations, one way, it is like a mirror in front of our consciousness. It actually shows who we really are. So it is during these testing situations, and that's why Krishna has put us in this testing situation to actually show what are the anarthas we need to fight. So during these testing situations, we can actually maintain that mood, the true character of a devotee, true mood of humility, then that shows our real nature as a Vaishnava. Right? So that's a nice point to meditate upon. Okay, text 30.
Hare Krishna. Patitam padayorvirha kripa dina vatsalaha saranyo navadiccha slokya ahachedam hasanyiva. Maharaj Parikshit, who was qualified to accept surrender and worthy of being sung in history, did not kill the poor surrenderer and fallen Kali, but smiled compassionately, for he was kind to the poor.
So Kripaya Dina Vatsala, out of compassion. So he gave 10 reasons why he should kill Kali. But now, because Kali surrendered, and particularly this word says, Hasan, Parikshit Maharaj smiled. Why did Parikshit Maharaj smile? Because he knew there was no way Kali could escape except if he surrendered. Otherwise, Kali was bound to be killed. All the 10 reasons he gave, it was sure Kali is going to die. But he knew only that one thing. If he surrenders, then I cannot do anything. So out of that compassion, and because he is Dina Vatsala, we say in Krishna, is Dina Bandhu, the friend of the poor. So Dina Vatsala, he's kind to the poor. And that is the nature of a devotee. So Prabhupada actually makes a point that, so what are the two reasons why Parikshit Maharaj did not kill Kali? The first point is, even an ordinary Kshatriya, if someone surrenders unto him, then he will not kill that person. Right? So what to talk of Maharaj Parikshit, who is Kripaya Dina Vatsala, right? Who is Kripaya Dina, who is a devotee of the Lord. So for him, if one surrenders, for sure he's going to protect that person. That's the first reason. And second reason is that if Maharaj Parikshit was to kill a person who is surrendered to him, then he would actually be doing a adharmic act. And the whole purpose of this pastime was to protect dharma. Is that the point? So if he surrendered and if we have killed him, then he himself would actually be the cause of promoting adharma. But the whole pastime is to actually. So two reasons why Parikshit Maharaj was actually did not kill Kali. And then we'll see what happened later. And then here, one nice word is Sharanya. Sharanya means one who's qualified to accept surrender. So even in Bhagavatam, there are actually few shlokas in third canto. There's a shloka with Kapila Muni and Devahuti, and then 11th canto there's this Devashi Bhutatman Rinam Pritina Na Kinkaro Nayam Rinicha Rajan Sarvatma Ye Sharanyam Sharanyam. Right? Sharanam Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Paririta Kartam. Right? So that verse actually, there also it says Sarvatma Ye Sharanam Sharanyam. So what does Sharanya mean? Sharanyam mean one who is actually qualified to accept surrender. And Sharanam means that he will accept the surrender of anyone who actually falls at his feet. And those are the qualities of Krishna also. Like Krishna is called to be Sharanam Sharanyam. So anyone, however sinful a person is, if he falls at the feet of Krishna and say, Krishna, I surrender unto you. How much time does it take to go back home, back to Godhead? To become Krishna conscious? 1 moment. Moment, Prabhupada says 1 moment. All you need to come to Krishna and say, Krishna, from today I am yours. I surrender unto your lotus feet. That's it. And then we have to live in that way, not just false words. So Krishna is known as Sharanam. He'll give surrender to anyone, right? And then Sharanyam, he is actually the only one worth taking shelter. Why? Gato Mukunda, because he is actually Mukunda. He is the only one who can actually get free us from this cycle of birth. He is the one worth taking shelter. So he is the one who can actually grant us liberation. And then the other verse, Aho Bakiyam Stanakutam. What is the next one? So that verse, it comes in third canto. Conversation between conversation between Uddha and Vidura. That verse, third canto, it says, how is Krishna the only one worth surrendering? And then this verse is there. I'll tell you the number. 3:23. Aho bakiyam stanaku kalakutam jigham sayapayad apya asadvi lebhe gatim dhatri uchitam tatonyam nanyam kam va dayalum sharanam vrajema. Again sharanam. Okay. Right? And this verse actually says, who is there? How can one take shelter of a person more merciful than Krishna? And why? Because even Putana, who actually came with an intention to kill Krishna, but because she came in the mood of a mother, Krishna actually granted her a position in the spiritual world as a motherly person, in that motherly bhav. Who can be more merciful than that personality, Krishna? Who is the personality worth surrendering other than Krishna? And hence Krishna is known as Sharanam Sharanyam. Right? So here also we see Sharan, the word is used, Sharanyo, that one who is actually qualified to accept surrender. Okay. Next verse, 31.
Prabhuji. So
Yes.
I have a question here.
Yes.
So all causes are like every Krishna is not doing those. It's all done by other agents. So, but mercy comes directly from Krishna, Prabhuji. I mean, Guru, devotees, right?
Through Vaishnavas, through Guru, through Krishna. So Krishna's mercy flows through the Guru Parampara and comes down through our Guru, through the Vaishnava. Right? So the more we actually accept ourselves in the position of Das, 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 Anudas. Prabhupada says in one lecture, he says, servant, 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 taken 1,000 times. The more we are in that position, the more we are actually a vessel to accept the mercy of all the Vaishnavas. Because as soon as we consider ourselves, we are lower. You know, just like water, it always flows from a higher to a lower. It never flows from a lower to a higher. So when we actually accept that lower position of servant, of the servant, of the servant, of the servant, then we are in that receiving place where all the Vaishnavas can come and shower their mercy upon us. But as soon as we think, I am here, I'm so qualified, then we are losing out on the mercy. And that's why that mood of Das, 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 and Das. That is my position. So that's how we see it.
Yeah, thank you.
Text 31.
Rajo Vacha Te Gudakesha Yashodharanam Buddhanjalervai Bhayam Asti Kinchit Navartitavyam Bhavata Kathanchana Kshetre Madiye Tvam Adharma Bandhuhu. Translation. The king thus said, we have inherited the fame of Arjuna. Therefore, since you have surrendered yourself with folded hands, you need not fear for your life, but you cannot remain in my kingdom, for you are the friend of irreligion. Hare Krishna.
So once he surrendered, right? So once Kali surrendered, so because he surrendered, the first duty of Maharaj Parikshit is actually to give shelter. So how is Maharaj Parikshit giving shelter? It actually says, no, what is it? What? Yeah, bhayam asti. Why bhayam asti kinchit? He actually says, you need not fear. Because you surrendered, I will not kill you. So you need not fear. And he says, na te Gudakesha. Who is Gudakesha? Okay, someone can unmute and say, in Bhagavad Gita, why Krishna, who is
Arjuna. Arjuna, he did not sleep.
One could sleep.
And
okay, and one more. What is Prabhupada says, what is the meaning of Gudakesha? Yes, Arjun, yes, because he did not sleep. But Prabhupada gives another beautiful reason.
He has control on his senses, Prabhuji.
Yes, he is not subjected to that ignorance. So here they are saying, we have inherited the fame of that Arjuna. You know, so Parikshit Maharaj is saying, because I am a descendant of Arjuna, you know, I have inherited that fame. So if someone surrenders to me, you know, I will for sure give him protection. Right? And since you have surrendered yourself with, and very nice, it says, Badha Anjal, Badha Anjalehe, with folded hands, because you have surrendered, I for sure will give you protection. You need not fear, right? Bhaya, there's no need to have bhaya, but he actually says, you cannot. Kshetre Madhye, in the land, Madhye, in my kingdom, Adharma Bandhu. You cannot stay here. Why? Because you are Adharma Bandhu. You are the friend of irreligion. So yes, I will not kill you, right? I will not kill you because you have surrendered. But you cannot stay here. Because if you are here, you are going to promote irreligion. Right? Okay. So, so we see here one thing nice to meditate upon is Parikshit Maharaj's character. Right? So one is, we read in the previous verse, how he is Kripaya Dina Vatsalam. He is like so soft. In spite of that atrocious behavior of Kali, he's willing to forgive. He's so soft, right? So soft and so compassionate and in the mood of forgiveness. That is the real mood of a Vaishnava. Right? He's willing to forgive anyone. But at the same time, we see his voice is actually, how we say, soft as a rose, hard as a thunderbolt. And this is quality they would describe to for even Prabhupada. And, he's soft as a rose, but But sometimes when there's something which was against the Krishna conscious principle, then he's hard as a thunderbolt. So here he is actually soft. Parikshit Maharaj is showing the softness and forgiveness, but he's very strict. You cannot stay here because you are adharma bandhu, you're a friend of the irreligion. No way you can stay in my kingdom. Right? And we see both these aspects. Prabhupada, like, I remember one story which is actually, I heard that once in Los Angeles, like 2 devotees, disciples, they actually entered Prabhupada's room, and Prabhupada was like chastising them somehow, like very heavy. And then one devotee was mentioning that he was standing outside Prabhupada's door, and when they came out, they were like so, like like Prabhupada was so heavy on them that they almost came crawling out of the room. He described, like really so heavy. But at the same time, we see like Prabhupada so soft as a mother, as a mother, a Bengali mother. Right? So we see both these characters. In Parikshit Maharaj, we can see he's soft as a rose, but very determined. There's no way you can stay in my kingdom, right? You cannot remain here. There is no room for you. Okay. So let's see what's the time. Okay, let's see one question. Any questions up to this point?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I got a question on this. So when you say Dina Vatsala, is it the literal meaning is lower, like a poor? Is it like, are they talking about financially, or like when say Dina Bandhu, like, so because, I hear like outside, our community, when they quote this Dina Bandhu or these things related to financial poorness or something. So how we need to kind of give response in that situation.
Right. So you have to quote the verse from Prayers of Queen Kunti. Janmaishara Shrutasi Bir Edamana Madapuma Naivarite Abhidatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Gochara. Right? So basically that verse is saying Janma, Aishwarya, is saying Aishwarya, right? Shruta, Shrivi, right? So it says it's not, the Deen position is not so much of what we discussed this when we were discussing the verse, is not so much of what we like as how rich we are, but it is more of how much we are wanting these things. Right? How much we are, but it, real, how Queen Kunti is saying, Tvam Akinchana Gochara. You are easily approached by those who are materially exhausted. Right? So even though you can have $1 million, but still you could be like, it's all Krishna's. Then you're still in the same position. You're not aspiring for these things. That's what Queen Kunti said. As long as we are aspiring for, I want more wealth, I want more money, I want more this, more prestige. Then Krishna, says, okay, if that's what you want, then okay. You'll get it from your karma, or Krishna will teach you a lesson, things like that. But when we are in that position of akinchana gochara, if we are all these things, Krishna, it is all yours. You have given to me. If you want, you will take it. You are the master. You are the controller. I'm just your servant. That is the position of Dina. Right? And then those who have that mood of akinchana gochara, then Krishna is Deen. He is their friend. He'll come for you. That's your mood? Here, I am for you. How can I serve you? Krishna will come and say, how can I serve you? There's a mood of Krishna. Yeah. It's not so much of what you possess, but your feeling of possession is what really matters. That verse is nice. You can quote that. Akinchana Gochara. That's the thing. You have to be materially exhausted with that, that mood of. Okay. Is that okay, Mahaprabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Okay, let's say question.
Yeah, I have one question. You say like in the Kali, he surrender. So that's why Maharaj Parikshit like forgive him. But what is the second reason you say? I am confused for that one.
Yeah, yeah.
So
if-
he's helping for that bad thing.
Yeah, I'll say one thing. The second reason, if let's say if Kali surrendered to Parikshit Maharaj and Parikshit Maharaj still killed him, then that would be an act of adharma. That would be against religion. And the whole purpose of this pastime is to establish religion. So if Parikshit would have killed, then he would actually be encouraging irreligion, which is contrary to the whole purpose of this pastime.
Yeah. Okay.
It's okay?
Okay. Thank you.
The 4 legs of religion, tapa, is destroyed by pride and cleanliness destroyed by lust. Does it correlate 1-to-1 with the 4 regulative principles or not exactly? Because it does? Because
that's why, like, when we think that, oh, Prabhupada gave this 4 regulative principles, and maybe it is like Prabhupada just created them, or like how did Prabhupada? These are actually the 4 principles of dharma. That's why Prabhupada said no intoxication, no illicit sex. Gambling is basically what cheating. That is the thing that destroys truthfulness.
So the lust or no illicit sex is cleanliness, right? And then intoxication destroys mercy. But we would think meat eating destroys mercy, and then or is it meat eating that destroys austerity? Because what is pride? How is that?
So no illicit sex, no intoxication. So gambling we know is for truthfulness.
Yeah.
Then illicit sex is for cleanliness. Right?
Austerity, I think.
And then meat eating is for mercy.
Yeah, in this case, the Prabhupada said intoxication destroys mercy.
Yeah. And then because I also made the point that how you see intoxication and mercy are both like kind of related, and because in the sense that both of them we actually consider what? I am the master, I am the controller. Right? So Prabhupada makes the point that when you do austerity is described by pride in the sense that you become, oh, I am so great, right? And then I want to enjoy. You enjoy woman, you enjoy meat in the sense that your mercy is gone. So both of them actually in one of the purpose, Prabhupada makes the point that because of pride, everything else falls away, right? Intoxication, meat eating, association with opposite sex, everything, it comes from that mood of pride.
So then the tapa is destroyed by intoxication?
Intoxication, yeah. Did you get that right?
It's just confusing, a little mismatched with the
shloka, with the point. But as I said, both of them are based on the concept of pride.
Okay.
Intoxication and meat eating. Both of them are actually based on pride. So you can say both of them are related to austerity and mercy.
Okay.
So one way, actually, you can actually associate mercy with intoxication. You can associate mercy with also killing of animals. So both can be actually related.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any comment on that? Like both of them can be either way. In Prabhupada's purpose is one way, but you can also.
Yeah, Prabhu, when you explained that, like the 1, 2, 3, 4, it was you said tapa and then saucham, but Prabhupada says tapa, daya, and saucham. So, but all of it doesn't matter, right? The order in which it was explained.
See, the main thing to understand is which order they come is like not important, but what is destroyed by what is the main thing.
But the leading thing is pride, right? So the pride leads all of that.
The pride is actually destroyed by destroys austerity.
Yes.
Yeah, and because of pride, then one actually engages in intoxication and illicit behavior.
Right.
Right? So then that follows the next two.
Thank you.
Okay. Vijay Matan.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, we read in the purport of text 29, a real Kshatriya never surrenders. But it is in this context, right? Arjun, a real Kshatriya can surrender to Lord Krishna. Arjun surrendered to Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. That's why Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to him, because he surrendered.
So, there's principle, there's dharma at different levels. Like in Bhagavad Gita, what was the first chapter? What was Arjun's reasons based on? Right, that he actually gave reasons based on Dharma Shastra. So if you consider on the level of Dharma Shastra, a Kshatriya is never supposed to surrender. But then you consider on the level of the highest Shastra, or Bhagavatam, or the principles of the our relationship to Krishna, then that goes beyond our varnas. So based on our Kshatriya varna, there are certain principles. The Kshatriya never surrenders. But that relation is not applicable to Krishna because that is on the higher principle.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, I have one question.
Yes.
Like we are saying, the Vaishnavism is like the highest like behavior, like we shouldn't be like the Trinadapi Sunichena. That thing is there, but then as a Kshatriya, the duties are there that they have to kill. And like you said, like when for the protection of the devotees or something, we have to take the action and take the ahimsa, like that. So how to which principle to follow, Prabhuji? Actually,
it depends on your nature. Like if you are in a position of a leader, like even in congregation, you're a leader or you're a temple president, there may be certain activities that you just have to do it. At the time, you may have to say that, yes, our principle is Trinadapi Sunichena, but as right now, my duty as the position that Prabhupada has given me is to actually take an action right now. I have to tell this person that no, your action is not acceptable. If you continue here, you cannot come to the temple. Like I have to take such a step. So it depends on whether you're in that position. If that is your responsibility, is that's what Prabhupada has actually given you as your seva, then you may have to do. But that also is done in a mood. As I said, finally we are thinking for the benefit of everyone. So we may take that action considering the benefit for that person and also for that community, saying that, okay, you have done something like this, you cannot come to the temple. Because if you come, you're going to do more Vaishnava aparadh, not good for you, and then remaining devotees will not be able to continue their spiritual life. So our thinking is same, right? Just in the mood of service, right? Just in the mood of service, not in the mood of controller or enjoyer or I am powerful. The mood of service is still there. As a service to Prabhupada, as a service to our Guru, we are actually doing it. So it depends on your position, how to balance. So if you're in that position, you have to take severe action, you may have to do it.
okay. But like Prabhuji, some country like the devotees are being like Bangladesh and all the thing was happen. So there the devotees have to take the action, because if devotees the action like to protect themselves.
Right.
So but then the government and they may take the action against the devotees also, Prabhuji, like why they did that. So how to do that also, Prabhuji?
So your question is, how should the devotees have acted, or?
Yes, Prabhuji, like if even for their self-defense, they are taking the action, but then it comes under the law and then they might be punished because of that.
Well, we have to see what is like in this situation, if there is actually opposition from the government itself to our practice of Krishna consciousness, or to promoting Krishna consciousness. Okay, let's say just to our practice of Krishna consciousness. Then like we see Prabhupada's example, how he was always in the mood of like, okay, if there is an opposition, we will fight. We will fight. Because our principle is that of protecting Krishna consciousness. We want to establish dharma for the benefit of the whole world. So yeah, we may go again, and we have so many Prabhupada disciples who were sent to jail. And there's so many stories of how, like, while distributing books, they were doing this, and they're sent to jail. But Krishna, takes care. Krishna takes care. But based on the circumstance, it may be necessary to do something which may be against the government principles to protect Krishna consciousness, our Krishna consciousness, and also this act of spreading Krishna consciousness. So again, that, like, as I said, like, our mood is still as a servant of Srila Prabhupada, and we do this. Servant of Srila Prabhupada, and do this. Yeah, like, we see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? How the Chankazi broke the Mridanga. And what did Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like, he himself said, Gopir Bhartur Padakunor Das Das. So in front of Lord Jagannath, he had the mood, I'm servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. But when the Chankazi broke the Mridanga, he said, okay, everyone, get your torches. We are going to go charge at the house. Right? The first civil disobedience movement. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is showing through his example that in front of the Lord, oh, I am just a servant. Instead of a spiritual master, I am just servant of servant. Right? He served Ishwar Puri in such a humble way. Right? But when there was opposition, it was like a lion. Took everyone, right? And then how it is said that in front of the Chankazi's house, everyone was like, kill the Kazi, kill the Kazi. Right? Didn't someone do a drama on that? Didn't they have a drama on that? I don't know. But their mood was kill the Kazi. Like, they were really, like, they were humble Kshatriyas, they were servants of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But that was a direct opposition to their kirtan, to their Sankirtan. So they had to actually take a strict action. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu led that entire endeavor to take that strict action. So yeah, based on circumstances, we may have to do certain things. And Prabhupada actually showed how, like one thing I recently heard, that how Prabhupada, like, his mood was, once he actually said that, wherever I travel in the world, there is opposition. I go to the West, there are these, there was a whole people who were doing the brainwashing, right? There were those opposition, or sometimes the government was actually opposing. New York, the government was. So he said, go to the West, then we have this opposition, right? Then he said, I come to Mumbai, then the local municipality, they are opposing our Kirtan, and then also Mr. Nair and so on, right? Then he said, when I go to Vrindavan, then I think he said the local people, oh yeah, the local people are opposing, because he's actually bringing his American and European, giving them Brahman initiation, so local people. And he said, now I come to Mayapur, and my own god brothers are opposing me. Wherever I go, there is opposition. There is problem. But what does Prabhupada said after that? But I don't see problems. I don't see opposition. I only see opportunities to serve my Guru. That is Prabhupada's mood. So in spite of all the opposition, he was just thinking, what is best for the service of my Guru Maharaj? That's what I'm going to do. If that means taking up opposition, going to the court, fighting, that's what I will do. It's okay.
Yes, thank you, Bruce.
So we should continue, because I want to finish this chapter. Vijay Martin, you have a question?
Prabhuji, if somebody is criticizing other devotees, Vaishnavas in front of you, what should be our action? We can tell them, stop, I don't want to listen other people, don't criticize anyone. And if they don't stop, what we do? We just leave that place?
Yes. So they said, like, first of all, if we are there in a position, we defeat them. Through our words, we say, no, what you're saying is not right. This person, or tell them that, why are you criticizing a Vaishnava? Everyone here is on the path. Everyone is getting purified. So with our words, if you're not able to do that, we leave that place. And then third point is, if that criticism is, if we feel that it is not good, it's not good for that person, then we may relate to an higher authority and say that, that this criticism is just spoiling the whole mood. Please do an action. but that no
Prabhuji,
person.
internal mood is that they are just envious, right? That's why they criticize others, right?
So you're saying internal mood of us as seeing someone criticizing?
Yes.
No, like again, like we shouldn't, if someone is criticizing another Vaishnava, like we shouldn't, like, from our side, we have to do what is right, as I said, to take the right action. But again, like, we don't necessarily need to develop an enmity with that particular person. Everyone is here in the hospital getting cured. How our main thing is like, depending on the position, how through love, through care, can we actually help that person so that he gives up that criticizing nature, right? Can we actually sit with him and read something from Chaitanya Charitamrita, which actually talks about the ill effects of fault finding, right? Or can we read this section of Bhagavatam together? Can we do something so that that habit of that person is over? So Prabhupada has given us everything. We have to use our intelligence in such a way that we can actually help others on the path. Okay, so I think we'll take a quick break and let's come back and we'll complete this chapter. Okay, so let's meet in 5 minutes. So everyone, please come back by 55. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everybody, please chant. Please keep your phones in your pocket and chant. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please come back and complete this chapter. Okay. Hare Krishna. So we continue from text number 32. Okay, so should we go ahead? Who is next on the group?
I think Kaushalya Mataji now, right, Prabhuji?
Yeah, yes, Kaushalya Mataji. Then Gopinath Acharya.
I think Gopinath Acharya, you can go ahead. So we are continuing from text 32. Proceed.
Tam vartamanam naradevadesh anupravritto yamadharma puga lobho nritam charyam anaryam amho Jeshtacha Maya Kalascha Damba. If the personality of Kali, a religion is allowed to act as a man god or an executive head, certainly irreligious principles like greed, falsehood, robbery, incivility, treachery, misfortune, cheating, quarrel, and vanity will abound.
Thank you, Guru. So basically, up to this point, Maharaj Parikshit has clearly said, okay, yes, I'm not going to kill you, do not be afraid, but you cannot stay here because you are Adharma Bandhu. And then he's actually here saying that if this Adharma Bandhu is going to allowed to stay here, and he's going to allowed to act as a Naradeva. Naradeva means a man god or king, because he was dressed in a king, right? When Parikshit Maharaj came, he was a Shudra, but he was dressed like a king. So if he is allowed to act like a king, is allowed to act like a king, then what is going to happen? That all these different qualities he mentions, Lobha, greed, unritam, falsity, chauryam, robbery, anaryam, incivility, amaha, treachery, jeshta, misfortune, maya, cheating, kalaha, quarrel, and dambha, vanity. So if Kali is allowed to recite, then all these different, and particularly the word says Anu, will actually follow Kali, right? Anu means to follow. So all these qualities are going to follow Kali Yuga. So Prabhupada in the purport, he actually says how these principles of religion, austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness, is actually can be followed by any faith, right? So we see certain purports of Prabhupada where he's actually stressing that how Bhagavatam is actually a universal book for everyone. Because any religion, the so-called faith or religion, you cannot deny these four principles of austerity, mercy, truthfulness, and cleanliness. Right? And then Prabhupada actually makes the point that in any particular faith, there are certain principles that need to be followed, and there are some details. Like in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 6, Prabhupada says principles and details. Right? These two things are there. So what are the details? Details may be like how one is going to offer obeisances. There may be different ways in which we offer obeisances, right? Or how one is worshipping. There may be some slightly different details, but they are all detailed. But the main principle when you're offering obeisances is we are offering obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are offering ourselves to the Lord. That principle is common. Right? That principle is common. So similarly, Prabhupada is actually making the point that all the different kinds of faiths or religion, these four principles, austerity, mercy, truthfulness, and cleanliness, is actually applicable to everyone. The principle, the details may actually vary, and even in Nectar of Instruction, we see how Rupa Goswami actually makes this point of Atyahara Prayasa Prajalpa Niyamagraha. Right? Niyamagraha. So one is just attached to the details, forgetting the principles. Right? So that is actually that does not serve the purpose. Then we are actually, what kind of religion are we following if we do not know what is the principle behind our activities? So Prabhupada makes the point that even the government wants to become secular. Okay, you want to claim to be secular, but at least these four principles of religion should be applicable to every so-called religious faith in the society. So Prabhupada makes this point. So anyway, like practically one principle of preaching is sometimes we may have to, based on the audience, preach about the general principles of Krishna consciousness. Where we are preaching, well, Krishna consciousness is actually the dharma of every living entity, and that's actually based on these four principles. And we can actually preach in a very general way that is applicable to all the faiths, and all the faiths can actually gain something from the message of Srimad. Right? And sometimes based on the audience, we have to go more deeper and go into our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition and how we are interested only in Nanda Krishna, Brajeshwar Nanda Krishna, right? So we may have to go. But we see Prabhupada also, with the intimate circle, he preached. Yes, we are interested only in the two-handed form of Krishna. That form, Nandan, that worshipped by Srimati Radharani, that form. And others we see when Prabhupada is talking to, let's say, the different Christian groups or Christian ministers, and Prabhupada focuses on these principles. There's a famous talk with that. In Paris, he talked to this father. There's a famous interview where he did. And he just focuses on the point of mercy. And he says, your Bible says thou shalt not kill. And that person was actually trying to take into the next topic, but Prabhupada said, no, let's talk about this. Thou shalt not kill. Why are you killing? Why are you killing? Why? And the whole interview, Prabhupada just focused on that one point. So we can also, based on learn so much. At what point are we actually talking about these general principles of austerity, truthfulness, mercy, cleanness, and at what point we are actually going really into our Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, deep into logic. So we see both of these. Okay, so here Prabhupada is speaking more on the general principle. Okay, text 33.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I think I missed my
Yeah,
turn. Sorry for that. Text 33. Navarti tattvam tavyam tada dharma bandho dharmena satyena cha vartitavye brahma varteya trayajanti yagne yagneshwaram yagnavitana vignaha. Translation, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Therefore, O friend of irreligion, you do not deserve to remain in a place where experts perform sacrifices according to truth and religious principles for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
So again, the word is that adharma bandhu. Adharma bandhu means friend of illness. So in previous word it said, wherever you reside, then all those different qualities will reside. Greed, falsehood, robbery, treachery, everything will be there where you reside. Hence, you cannot reside in this place, particularly where experts, where it says satyena with truth, right, and dharmena with religion, are actually performing these sacrifices for Yagya Ishwaram, for the Supreme Personality of God. Right? Particularly, the word used is Brahma Avarte. Brahma Avarte means the place where experts are performing sacrifice. And Yagya Ishwara, referring to the Prabhupada actually elaborates on the purpose. He says that means wherever activities are done for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, that is the real definition of a yagya. Yagya means what? A sacrifice. But what for? For the pleasure of the Supreme Personality. Samsiddhit Haritoshanam. Any activity we are doing, Samsiddhit Haritoshanam. We want to give pleasure. So Parikshit Maharaj is making a point that in this land, where we are, experts, they are actually doing all these sacrifices according to truth, according to religious principle, and everything is done for the satisfaction of Krishna. And if you reside, if you reside in this place, then that will no longer be the case. Hence, you cannot reside here. Right? Hence, you cannot reside here. So Prabhupada in the purport also focuses on this point, that how real sacrifice means to actually give pleasure to Krishna. And again, Prabhupada actually brings the mood of a general principle, that the basic principle of religion is truthfulness. And truthfulness means the greatest common factor of sacrifice is actually to give pleasure to the Lord. And particularly in this age, what is the way we give pleasure to the Lord? Through the Sankirtan Yajna. So Prabhupada said, even all different religions, if you're Christians, if you're Muslim, whatever, chant the names of God, do the Sankirtan Yajna for the pleasure of God. And that will actually, that is the real purpose of the entire Vedas, to actually do sacrifice for the pleasure of Krishna. So we see, like even the book Chant and Be Happy, Prabhupada makes a point. Okay, whatever names of God you're chanting, right? Chant those names of God. And that way you'll progress in your spiritual life. Okay, so next 34.
Text 34. Yasmin Harir Bhagavan Ichamana Ichatma Murtir Yajat Tam Samtanoti Kamam Abhogam Sthirachangamanam Antabahir Vayur Ivaisatma. Translation. In all sacrificial ceremonies, although sometimes a demigod is worshipped, the Supreme Lord Personality of Godhead is worshipped because he is the super soul of everyone and exists both inside and outside, like the air. Thus, it is he only who awards all welfare to the worshippers.
Okay, so why is Parikshit Maharaj not talking about demigod worship? Right? So in the previous verse, he actually made the point, well, in this land, everyone is doing yajna for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Right? Hence, wherever Vishnu is there, there can be no question of adharma, hence you cannot recite. But then Kali may think, well, there are some people who do worship to demigods. They do karma kanda rituals. Maybe I will go and recite there. Right? So to that, Parikshit Maharaj is saying, even those people who are actually worshipping demigods, they are doing sacrifice for demigods, even they are actually worshipping Krishna. Right? So here in the Sanskrit, we say, anta bahi, within and outside, just like air, right? Antar bahi, within and outside, the Supreme Personality of Godhead actually resides. So even the Vedas, even if you see the Karma Kanda, though that is not the direct process, but it is an indirect process, but it is finally the Supreme Lord, the super soul of everyone who is actually worshipped. So even where people are performing demigod worship, you cannot recite that Kali. Finally, it is Krishna who is actually worshipped everywhere in my life. So hence you cannot recite that. And then elaborating on how to prove that point, that it is actually only he who awards benefits to even the demigod worship. So we read in Bhagavad Gita 9:23, Yepi anya devata bhakta yajante shraddhayanvita tepi mam eva konte yajanti avidhi purvaka. So Prabhupada elaborates on this point that even those who are actually worshipping demigods, finally who is giving the rewards to them? Krishna. Because unless Krishna sanctions, even the demigods are helpless in giving the rewards. Right? So finally it is Krishna. But those who are just considering the demigods as the ultimate authority, they are avidhi purvakam. Avidhi purvakam, and they're doing so in a wrong way. Avidhi, not right. So now he's made the point that anywhere in my land, that Kali you cannot stay. You cannot stay. There's no place for you, Kali. But Kali is a surrendered soul. And if a king has a person who surrendered unto him, he has to give him a place. Right? So let's see what happens. So next, text 35. Who's next?
Varsana Priyama.
I don't see her. Who's next?
Shall I go ahead? Sutta uvacha parikshitaivam adistah sakalayjata vepatuh tam udyatasim ahedam dandapanim ivodyatam. Translation: Sri Sutta Goswami said the personality of Kali, thus being ordered by Maharaj Parikshit, began to tremble in fear. Seeing the king before him like Yamaraj, ready to kill him, Kali spoke to the king as follows.
So now, basically, Kali has surrendered. So, Parikshit is not going to kill him, but he needs a place to stay, right? Actually, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is actually saying that Kali is making the point to Parikshit, better you kill me, because there's no place for me to stay. Where will I stay? You already talked about, everywhere there is sacrifice of Vishnu, and even demigods, they are also indirectly worshipping Vishnu. Where will I stay? I am a surrendered soul. Where will I go? Right? So here Sutta Goswami is saying, so Kali, being ordered by Parikshit Maharaj that you cannot stay here, began to tremble in fear. Because Kali was thinking that if I disobey this, then for sure I'm going to die. Seeing the king before him like Yamaraj, ready to kill, Kali actually began to speak. Okay. Next, 36.
Hare Krishna. Text 36. Kali Ruvacha Yatra Kva Vata Vatsyami Sarva Bhavna Tavayya Lakshaye Tatra Tatrapi Tvam Ateshu Sarasanam. The translation: O your majesty, Though I may live anywhere and everywhere under your order, I shall but see you with bow and arrows wherever I live. Hare Krishna.
This is yatra kwa. Anywhere and everywhere. So Kali, like basically Parikshit said, you cannot stay here. So Kali is saying, anywhere or everywhere I stay, what I'm going to see, tatra tatra. Like, okay, under your order, I may stay anywhere, but everywhere I'm going to see you with the bow and arrow in your hand. Because, anywhere he goes, that's going to be the same yajnas being performed under the rule of Maharaj Parikshit. So anywhere he goes, that Parikshit is going to come and say, oh, you cannot stay here. Yajna is being done. Then he goes somewhere else, Parikshit will be there. You cannot stay here. Kali is saying, where will I stay? Anywhere I see, I will just see you with your bows and arrows in hand. So basically, Prabhupada in the purport makes a point because Kali is the one who is actually there to create irreligion or mischief, right? And Parikshit is the one who is there to subdue mischief or establish religion. So both opposites. So both can't stay together. Right? So wherever there's Parikshit, there is no question of Kali being there. That's what Kali is actually saying. Where will I go? Wherever I go, you will be there. So but I am a surrender soul. Like so Prabhupada says, he was after all a surrender soul. So it was the king. He was supposed to do something, give a place for Kali. Right? Okay. 37.
Hare Krishna. Tanme dharmabhritam shreshta sthanam nirdesham ahrasi yatreva niyato vatsaya atinshtaste nushasanam. Therefore, O chief among the protectors of religion, please fix some place for me where I can live permanently under the protection of your government. Hare Krishna.
So Dharma Bhritam Shrestha. So Kali is particularly referring to Parikshit Maharaj. You are Dharma Bhritam Shrestha. That means you are the best of the protectors of religion. So particularly like Kali is making the point to Parikshit that you gave me protection. I surrender unto you. You gave me protection. Protection means you have to give me a place. You are the best of the protectors of religion. So hence he says, Sthanam, give me a place. Nirdesham, fix. Right? So fix me a place where I can actually stay. Anushasanam, under your protection. So let me Atishtan, permanently situated. Please fix some place for me where I can live permanently under the protection of your God. So Prabhupada actually makes a point, a surrender soul should be given all protection. So now Parikshit has given that protection. So now he is actually required to give a place for Kali because he's a surrendered soul. And then Prabhupada makes a very excellent point in this purport. He says, Kali is an enemy of Parikshit Maharaj, right? So when an enemy surrendered to Parikshit, Parikshit gave him protection. The devotee of the Lord, he gave protection. What to talk of a devotee surrendering unto another devotee, or a devotee surrendering unto Krishna? How much love and protection will Krishna and the devotee give to that person? The Prabhupada is kind of giving an example. Even an enemy is protected by one who surrenders. What to talk of a person who actually with love and devotion surrenders unto the devotee of Krishna. So imagine how much more. So Prabhupada in the sentence he said, we can just imagine what sort of protection is given by the personality of Godhead to the person who surrenders unto him, not as an enemy, but the devoted servant. Right? And then Krishna quotes, Prabhupada quotes, Sarva Dharma Paritejya, Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo. So if you serve to Krishna, surrender to Krishna with love and devotion, Krishna says, all your millions of sinful acts, what all reactions you're supposed to suffer, in a moment, I will wash them away. Ma Suchaha. That is how Krishna reciprocates to those who actually surrender with devotion. Since we're a little short on time, we'll just go with the English translations. 38. Who's next?
Hare Krishna. Sutta Goswami said, Maharaja Parikshit, thus being petitioned by the personality of Kali, gave him permission to reside in places where gambling, drinking, prostitute, and animal slaughter were performed. Hare Krishna.
So now Parikshit had to give him a place because he has surrendered. So here it says, thus being petitioned by the personality, he gave him permission to reside in 4 places. What is that? So this we see like directly on the 4 regulative principles, right? So Dyutam means gambling, Panam, drinking, Striya, illicit sex with women, and then Shuna, animals. So why did Prabhupada give us these 4 regulative principles? Right here we see Bhagavatam directly speaking that Parikshit Maharaj is saying, wherever these 4 activities are there, or Kali, you can go and reside there. Wherever there's illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling, say Kali, you can go and reside there. So we talked about this. Prabhupada again goes back to the same thing, that how the pride, prostitution, intoxication, and falsehood, they actually destroy austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and faithfulness. So, and then also Prabhupada in the purport, he elaborates that how there is Pravrti Marg and Nivritti Marg, and he basically says that, oh, in Pravrti Marg, so everyone knows this difference, Pravrti and Nivritti? Yes? No? So Pravrti Marg is, so Vedas are divided into Pravrti Marg and Nivritti Marg. Pravrti Marg is those who actually are engaged in sense enjoyment. So for them, the Veda says, okay, if you want to enjoy, if you want to have a good wife, if you want to have a good business, then do this karma kanda ritual. Do this karma. That is all the Pravrti Marg. And in that Pravrti Marg, there may be some sanction for meat eating. Right, in certain section of Vedas, okay, if you cannot control your senses, you can eat on so-and-so day, once a month, as an offering to Kali, and so on. That's all principles of Pravrti Marg. Right? But for those who are actually following Nivritti Marg, those who are really serious about their spiritual life, for them, all their statements are actually, we don't accept all those statements. We say no drinking, right? No intoxication. But it may be okay for those who are on the Pravrti Marg, but those who are on Nivritti Marg, this cannot be accepted. So Prabhupada says one man's food is other man's poison. So certain section of the Vedas may say something, but based on what you are really aiming for, what is your position on the spiritual ladder, those statements can be rejected. And then in this purport, towards the end of the purport, Prabhupada gives a long purport. Prabhupada has this entire proposal to the government to actually eradicate corruption, to defeat Kali. Imagine how Prabhupada is like really, he's thought of the whole thing, said this is how the society will be. And he's giving step by step. And so next time you meet a government officer, you say, this, our spiritual master has given this proposal. You accept it, success guaranteed. Corruption will go away. You accept it. Try it out, right? And what are the things? So Prabhupada says, if you see in the purport, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see. First thing, 2 compulsory fasting days in a month, if not more. So everyone has to follow Ekadashi, right? Which was at, I forget which, but there was a king, and then whenever there's Ekadashi, they used to actually go outside and there's drums. Da, 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 da. Today is Ekadashi, no one eats grains today. Entire kingdom, they used to actually beat drums and declare today is Ekadashi, no grains. Imagine that day when, on Ekadashi we are traveling and all the food chains, they say, oh, today is Ekadashi, no grains today. We'll give you only saburana chili, only quinoa rice, quinoa. So see, that's also Prabhupada first principle, 2 compulsory fasting days for everyone. And Prabhupada says it is good even from the health point of view and even from the food point of view. Like, practically, like during my PhD, I had these 2 friends, we were doing PhD together, and they were just pious Indians, not in directly practicing Krishna consciousness. But they saw that how on 2 days I has to have only fruits. And one of them said, this is so good for my health, I'm also going to follow. And he used to follow Ekadashi like every time with me. Let's have fruits together, you know. So it is, you know, like this principle can be told to people like, okay, for your health reasons, for the society food reasons, fast on it. Twice a week. Even if their motivation is not really spiritual. Again, this is for community. For us, our motivation is very clear. Why are we fasting today on Ekadashi? For giving pleasure to Krishna. That's it. Right? Then second point, there must be compulsory marriage of boys once they reach 24, girls when they reach 16, and no question of marriage. Second principle. Third principle, 50% of the charity of all, 50% of the income should be actually given for spreading Krishna consciousness, both individually and collectively, which can be accomplished by preaching Srimad. Again, Prabhupada is making the point. Preach Srimad Bhagavatam. Everyone, 50% of your income you give for this purpose. Establish schools where Bhagavatam is established. And everyone needs to attend that school. Right? Third principle. Right? Third principle. And then in that, Prabhupada gives sub-points. The first thing he says, everyone should work in the principle of Karma Yoga, where we're doing everything for the satisfaction of the Lord. Second, point B, regularly hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from devotee. Point C, chanting Hare Krishna congregationally. Point D, serve Bhagavata, serve those who are engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness. Point E, reside in the spiritual atmosphere. So this is Prabhupada's proposal. 3 main points and then 5 sub-points. Yeah? And said, if this is done, then corruption will go away, Kali will be defeated, and we will have again Ram Rajya. Right? Prabhupada says, everyone wants Ram Rajya without Lord Ramchandra. You know, no one wants to have God, but they want Ram Rajya. So this is the way we can actually have establish Satya Yuga, even now, you know, establish a Krishna consciousness. Okay, 39. This English translation.
Hare Krishna. The personality of Kali asked for something more, and because of his begging, the king gave him permission to live where there is gold, because wherever there is gold, there is also falsity, intoxication, lust, envy, and enmity.
So again, the problem Kali has, so Parikshit Maharaj said 4 places: intoxication, meat eating, gambling, and illicit sex. Wherever these, you can reside. But again, Kali is like, there's nowhere in your kingdom where these principles are broken. Everyone is following regulated principles. Where will I reside? So it says, Punaha, again, Kali actually, Yachamanaya. Yachamanaya means again he begged. Oh, Parikshit, please give me a place. I still don't have a place to live. Right? And then what this Parikshit said, because of his begging, the king gave him permission to actually live in Jata Rupam, actually gold. Because wherever there is gold, that is falsity, intoxication, lust, envy, and envy. Envy and so these 5 things. So, you know, so Chakravarti Pada is actually making the point that he's actually saying that Kali was thinking that, okay, no one is breaking these 4 principles, right? So how can I even make my presence here? How can I even live? I have to enter their minds. And how can I enter their minds? Everyone is actually interested in earning some money. So let me actually enter the gold, the money. And once I enter the money, because everyone is thinking of how can I earn money, then I can enter their minds. And once I enter their minds, then through that money, because, you know, once there's that mode of passion where you want to earn more, earn more, earn more, then immediately there is a falsehood. Oh, I can actually win this lottery and get so much money. You know, there's intoxication, there's lust, there's enmity. So that is Kali's plan, how he can actually stay. So Prabhupada in the purport, he actually says, he talks about this, you know, this currency, how this entire currency is actually based upon a falsehood, you know, like paper notes. No, it's not even paper notes, no, it's plastic. It's plastic. And Prabhupada says, like, initially the currency was actually based on how much gold a country had. So even a dollar, I think it was like some 1.5 grams of gold. So $1, depending on how much gold the country has, that is how many notes it can actually print. Because it's just a representation of the gold that the country has. But later on, everything fell apart. Right? Later on, they said silver, then they said some other metal, and then after they said they're just printing money without having that gold standardization. Country is in debt, we'll print more dollars, we'll print more notes. So it's all based on falsehood and cheating. Right? So what is the value of that? Like, it's not that you can go to a government and say, okay, I have $1, give me 1.5 grams of gold. It's no longer gold standardization, right? So Prabhupada talks so much. See, that's why I'm saying, like, this chapter, if a government has, you're giving to a government, Bhagavatam to a government person, ask them to read the purpose of this chapter. Prabhupada really, it talks a gold standard currency is now based on falsehood, because currency is not in par with the reserve gold. The basic principle is all falsity. And because of this, because money is printed without the equivalent of gold, that is inflation. There is all these problems where, the artificial inflation. And so Prabhupada is really going to the depths of the economy, and it says that price of commodities becomes artificially inflated, and bad money drives away good money, right? Okay. So, the practical point here as devotees is, one thing is Kali does reside in money, in the sense like, okay, if money is used in Krishna's service, then wherever there's Krishna, there is no possibility of Kali there, right? So then it is okay, just like how in this case, wherever there was yajna done for the satisfaction of Krishna, there was no role for Kali, no place for Kali. So when money is actually used in Krishna's service, then there's no chance of Kali. But when we have money itself, that could be like Kali is residing right away. That's why we see it is very common that, even among this children of the same family, there is conflict. Oh, the father has passed away. Who is going to inherit so much property? And then there is quarrel. And the symptom of Kali is what? Quarrel. Right? That's how it actually starts. Right? Even big, we read about this Ambani brothers. Like, all this fight and so much tension, right? All because of money. So that's how actually the quarrel spirit. So as devotees, we have to be extremely careful in having like money transactions, between people, and even between devotees, like be transparent as possible, and as honest as possible. Otherwise, there's every room for quarrel to get it. Right? That's the first point. Second point is avoid over atyahara prayasasya prajapan. So the first two principles, over accumulating money, over endeavoring, knowing that money itself could be a cause of quarrel, then why endeavor so much? We need money for a basic maintenance, and we have to give to Krishna conscious society. So we need money for that. But beyond that, over accumulating, that just causes for Kali. Because here we read how because of that goal, then falsehood, intoxication, lust, and enmity, all those things come, right? So if someone is really that Ishwaroham Aham Bhagi, so much is mine today I have 1 million, tomorrow I want 2 million. And what happens? Immediately it's like, I will use some cheating methods to get money. I want work, like other than working, I will actually buy a lottery ticket, and by that maybe I can get another $1 million. So that is what? That's just cheating. Right? Only like how much you work, that's what you get in this like proportion. That's how the system's supposed to be. But now it is all based on cheating. So, as devotees, we can also think about that point, and how extra money brings all this, over endeavoring brings all. Right? So being satisfied with what we have received, what Krishna has given us, and say like, okay, yes, Krishna has given me this, I'm going to use it for my existence, whatever basic needs I need, plus I will actually give money toward Krishna service. In that way, I can be free from the influence of Kali. Right? So being as transparent, being honest in all these dealings with money, extremely important. So not being so much attached, but having it more on utility principle. Okay. Okay. So text 40.
Thus, the personality of Kali, by the directions of Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Uttara was allowed to live in those 5 places.
Right? So Kali, in that way, he entered the minds of people through gold. And then once he entered the mind, then because of the gold, then falsity, enmity, and then intoxication, meat eating, gambling, all those things happen. Because as soon as the money, the passion is like, I want to earn more, I want to earn more. Then they say, oh, maybe I'll do some gambling. That way I can get more money, right? So it leads to the remaining 4 things. Right? In that way, Kali resided in 5 places. 41.
Therefore, whoever desires progressive well-being, especially kings, religionists, public leaders, brahmanas, and sannyasis, should never come in contact with the 4 above-mentioned irreligious principles.
So this is actually a warning that is given, right? Kvachit na sevate, kvachit, that in under any circumstance, one should not come in contact with these 4 things, right? That's why Prabhupada, at the time of initiation, take a vow. Strictly, no intoxication, no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex. Strict, right? We are taking a vow in front of the yajna, in front of the fire. Why? Because these are the causes for our downfall. These are the causes of irreligion. So here it says, Kvachit, under any circumstance, na sevate, don't actually come in contact with these 4 things. And bubushu. Bubushu means if you desire your own well-being, stay away from all these things. And then the verse goes further. It says, Visheshataha, specifically who? Lokapatihi, the public leader. Guru, the brahmanas and sannyasis. Raja, the kings. And Dharmashila, those who are on the path of Krishna consciousness. Particularly, these 4 categories should be extremely careful to stay away from these 4, breaking these 4 regulative principles. So, Lokapati means public leader. And, if you see all these brahmanas, Lokapati, king, they're all representatives, supposed to be representatives of the Lord. So, they need to follow Dharma. But even if they slightly break the principle, then they are no longer representative of the Lord. And then, like Prabhupada actually makes the point, if a Brahmana is not truthful, then he can be rejected, because the main principle for a Brahmana is truthfulness. Then if a sannyasi, if he's actually connected, illicit connection with a woman, that is the fall down of a sannyasi, can be rejected. If a king or leader is proud or engaged in intoxication, he can be rejected. These are the main principles. Now people don't even consider like drinking wine. It's like consider like, oh, aristocratic to drink wine and a sign of high prestige. So intoxication. And if a king or leader is proud or engaging in this, no longer he is and deserves to be given that respect of a king or leader. So that's why Prabhupada in the purport he says, one must be, every leader or every brahmana or sannyasi must be tested crucially by character and qualification. Character and qualification. So now in ISKCON also, when someone takes a sannyas, there is actually a whole process which takes over years and years, where they are tested through their quality, through their character, what is their qualification, how they are engaged in Krishna consciousness. And it is very elaborate. Like so many people have to talk about them, give a report saying that, oh, this person is so and so, I have seen him, this is how he acts, give a statement about his character, how he's engaged in preaching Krishna. There's so much rule. Why? Because it's as soon as there is a position, there is a responsibility, there is a power. You have to be extremely careful. So very important. So let's go 42. Let's just 3 more verses. Quickly stop.
Thereafter, the king reestablished the lost legs for the personality of religion, the bull, and by encouraging activities, he sufficiently improved the condition of the earth.
So then Maharaj Parikshit, after giving Kali, okay, you can reside in these 5 places. Then Kali actually he re-established. So he re-established religion. So again, we make the point that one may say, oh, Kali anyway is there, why should I do anything? No, that's not the mood. The mood is that, oh, Kali is progressing, I have to be even stronger in my following these 4 regulative principles. I have to be even stronger, because these 4 things, even slight deviation, gives a room for irreligion to actually enter into our life. Okay, again, in this purport, Prabhupada mentions that Rupa Goswami's formula, he says, like, whenever we get money, this fifth aspect that Parikshit has given Kali, that 50% should be used in the service of the Lord, 25% for family members, and 25% for personal necessities. So that's how we divide our money. And Rupa Goswami actually did this. So anyway, this percentage and how we actually can practically implement is the whole topic of contemplation and discussion. How do we do this? What Prabhupada is actually saying. 50% service of the Lord, 25% family members, 25% personal maintenance. You know, one practical point here, like Prabhupada again and again, he actually emphasizes the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam. Like how Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur told Prabhupada, if you ever get money, do what?
Print books.
Print books. Why? Yeah. Because that is actually the safest way to invest our money. Because as soon as money is used for printing, publishing, and distributing of Prabhupada's books, that is the safest way to use and distribute money. And that, for every, Prabhupada has this conviction that the words that are there in his books are actually given by Krishna himself. And anyone who reads even one line, one word, in this book will actually be transformed, will get that spiritual benefit. That is Prabhupada's, like this conviction of the books that he's actually given us. So his faith in the transcendental sound vibrations that these books contain, that is what Prabhupada, that's why Prabhupada is so enthusiastic, distribute books. So Prabhupada does this famous lecture in Los Angeles, as well, one of my favorite things. I'll just read this one paragraph. This is Prabhupada. I would highly recommend that you hear this. This is in Los Angeles, a famous lecture. And if you see a video called Prabhupada in New Dwarka, you will hear this. Right? So Prabhupada is saying, I have no personal qualification, but I simply try to satisfy my Guru. That's all. My Guru Maharaj asked me that if you get some money, you print books. So that was a private meeting, talking. Some of my important God brothers also there. It was in Radha Kund. So Guru Maharaj was speaking to me that since we have got this Bagh Bazaar marble temple, there have been so many dissensions. And everyone is thinking, who will occupy this room or that room, that room? I wish, therefore, to sell this temple and the marble and print some books. Yes. So I took up this from his mouth, that he's very fond of books. And he told me personally that if you get some money, print books. Therefore, I'm stressing on this point. Where is book? Where is book? Where is book? So kindly help me. This is my request. Print as many books in as many languages and distribute throughout the whole world. Then Krishna conscious movement will automatically increase. This is such a wonderful, this is Prabhupada's mood and mission. Everything is there here. I have no personal qualification, but this is Guru's instruction. Okay, last verse. Actually, two more. You can read both, Prabhu, 43, 44.
The most fortunate Emperor Maharaj Parikshit, who was entrusted with the kingdom of Hastinapura by Maharaja Yudhishthira when he desired to retire to the forest. He is now ruling the world with a great success due to his being glorified by deeds of the kings of the Kuru dynasty.
So now, why is he saying, okay, most fortunate Emperor Maharaj Parikshit, right, who got the kingdom after Yudhishthira Maharaj retired, is now ruling with great success? How does it make sense? Like Suta Goswami is telling to Shaunak Rishi, Suta Goswami was present in the assembly when Sukadeva Goswami spoke to Parikshit. So that means that Parikshit is already left. So why is Suta Goswami now saying that is now ruling the world with great success due to being glorified by the deeds of the kings? Right? So 2 points are actually said here. So Prabhupada elaborates that one is that because it was so close to time that it is actually used in the present sense. Right? Because so close, just like, okay, Maharaj Parikshit just left and then now this entire thing is happening. Because so close on time, hence the present tense. And the second reason is actually more valid in that sense, is that because of Parikshit Maharaj's rule, the effects of the rule are still being seen now. You know, how a person lives by his activities, right? So Parikshit Maharaj's influence is still there, and hence he can be said as he's actually still present. Yeah? So he's being glorified by the deeds of the kings of Kuru. And the last verse of this chapter, Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Abhimanyu, is so experienced that by dint of his expert administration and patronage, it has been possible for you to perform a sacrifice such as this. So now Suta Goswami is telling the sages that now that you are actually performing the sacrifice, that credit also goes to Maharaj Parikshit actually driving away Kali and re-establishing the principles of dharma. And because of that, you are actually able to perform this sacrifice. Right? And that way, he's actually glorified Parikshit, and he actually told all the sages that your sacrifice also we are actually indebted to Parikshit Maharaj, because of which we can do this sacrifice. So Prabhupada in the purport talks about how Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, they are coordination, they are cooperation together. Right? So because the Kshatriya established this dharmic principle, so the Brahmanas would actually engage in a sacrifice. And yeah, okay, so let's stop here. So that's how this chapter ends. And then next we'll read. So we are coming to the final pastime of Parikshit and Sukadeva Goswami, how he's going to be cursed, and then how he's going to meet Sukadeva Goswami. So next chapter, Parikshit will be cursed, and very interesting chapter. And then 19, we'll see how Parikshit Maharaj responds to that curse, and so much learning in this. And then that way, this canto ends. Right? And then next chapter, next canto, will start with Sukadeva Goswami starting. He starts talking to Parikshit. Okay. Thank you all so much.
We didn't read text 45.
I just read it.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay. The last one is Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Abhimanyu, so experienced by dint of his expert administration and patronage, it has been possible for you to perform this sacrifice. So that's the point of it. Even now, he's actually saying, because Parikshit Maharaj ruled in such a nice way, you can perform this. Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you for joining Ekadashi, and it's always nice to spend more time on spiritual activities. So, so I would like to thank many of you had a busy day yesterday, whole day of seva, and still you actually, came up and you're giving your time. So very grateful for all of you for giving your association here to study Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Kalpatarupasya Kripa Sindhu Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnava. Thank you all so much. So it's 9:40 and you should drop out. If anyone wants to leave one point before dropping out, you can also share one point, realization of point you like.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The reading of Srimad Bhagavatam and preaching of Srimad Bhagavatam will automatically make everyone austere, clean inside and out, merciful to the suffering, and truthful in daily behavior. And it will systematically educate people, and it will clear up the influences of Kali, of corruption, bribery, blackmail, etc.
Yes, thank you. Wonderful point. Thank you.
This chapter is very useful for personal application and for the preaching also, because it really helps us like why we follow the 4 regular principles.
Yes.
And very nicely explained. So when people ask us, so it is nice to explain them also why we follow this.
Thank you.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, thank you.
On the similar line, if you desire your own well-being, follow the 4 principles.
Yes. Stay away from these 4, breaking. One who is bhubu suhu, who wants his own welfare. People do not know what is their own swartha, their own welfare, and hence they actually do all this nonsense. Thank you.
Krishna Prabhuji. Wherever there is Krishna's footprints, there will be auspiciousness. So we can invite that by Harikatha and Kirtan.
Very good. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. In text 38, Prabhupada explained that Pravruti Marg and Nivruti Marg and what to do, what we have to do. It's a very, he explained very, very well and like applicable for us, I mean for me also. The Pravruti Marg, but in that one, some restrictions are there. I mean, follow the Karma Kand, it is there, but some like not particularly intention for that the devotional service, the Lord love to the Krishna and devotional service is less, but in Nivruti Marg, like strictly, I mean, follow that rules and we have to.
There is some concession, but his concession is a regulation. It's actually to restrict, not to actually encourage.
Yes. Thank you.
That's this Nivruti Marg. Just focus. Don't follow these 4 regulated principles. Focus on chanting Hare Krishna. That's
yes. Hare Krishna.
Anything else?
How pride makes us feel like we're controlling and we're the enjoyers, and that is kind of leads to breaking the 4 legs of religion. So staying in a humble mood and remembering I'm just a servant of Krishna. My role is just to be an instrument in Krishna's hand. That will be compassionate to others and
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, ma'am.
I like couple phrases you mentioned. Democracy is demon crazy. And also you be soft as a rose and hard as a thunderbolt. Those are very powerful single liners. And also one point you mentioned about how if you are, surrender is easy only when you practice all the principles. And also if you feel like you're at the bottom of the, you are the lower, and then you have possibility of receiving all the grace up from upwards. If you think you're any higher, then you're missing out on getting that grace from Acharyas and Lord himself.
Thank you, Mati. Excellent point. There's actually one verse in 4th Canto also where it describes Maharaj Prithu as soft as a rose and hard as a thunderbolt. I'll give you a reference.
Thank you.
In the Prithu Maharaj section. Thank you so much. Okay, anyone else? We'll stop here. Vijay Radhika Mati, you had a question? Devotees can drop out if you want.
I had a question just when it says that Kali was like there was no places where the regulated principles were being broken, but then I was thinking like weren't there like bad things happening even in that time? Like for example, Duryodhana, if we there was gambling, they were drinking, like the Kshatriyas were drinking, and they were killing animals, and I mean there was happening right in that time also.
So see, like okay, so during the Kauravas time there were some certain principles being broken, but then again when Maharaj Parikshit was established as a king, then he ruled. We read all those qualities by which he ruled, that how all the astrologers, how they predicted, and he was ruling in such a glorious way, right? So all those predictions of the astrologers, he was ruling in such a way. So in that way, actually all those 4 principles were actually being followed. And then the animal killing for like Kshatriyas, when they are actually killing animals just for the sake of like, strengthening their Kshatriya skills, that may be okay from the dharmic perspective, that according to that dharma. So here, when we are talking, this is actually breaking regulated principles, like unrestricted animal killing for sense gratification. So all those 4 things in Parikshit Maharaj rule was actually not happening. And that's why like he was actually traveling all around to make sure that all these dharmic principles are actually being followed. And that's why we read that when he was traveling, how people welcomed him and how he was hearing about his forefathers also. Okay, so let's stop here. Thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavatam, ki jai, Srila Prabhupada, ki jai, Ekadashi, ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you all so much for your association. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Dhanvatana. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dhanvatana.
Dhanvatana.